Aita for being disgusted and just saying, okay, when my fiancé broke up with me. Edit. Thank you for all your opinions. It was nice to get this off my chest. Lol. Just to clarify though, I don't feel like a victim. I feel like something happened, and my relationship just turned bad. He behaved like an asshole, but that is the extent of it. Very clearly, something is going on. But he doesn't want me to be part of whatever it is, and I have to respect that. Now I just have to detangle myself legally from him, and after that, I'll just be left alone with my ugly green wall color. I think I might also adopt a cat, as my ex was really allergic, so I don't care, man. I, 28, had been with my fiancé Alex, 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and had been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then, he has been working at the uni. I have my master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay, so the problem is that Alex broke up with me last Monday. It was literally so surreal and honestly, just weird. For the past few months, he'd been acting strange. He was making demands and then dropping them immediately. A few examples. He told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, "For fuck's sake. Forget it," and never brought it up again, even when I asked. Another time, he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket. I had cramps. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, "Forget it. It's not a big deal." This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did, or maybe he was just stressed at work, he would just say everything was fine. But he was clearly seething with rage. I didn't even have to do anything. He would find something to complain about: the apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So, I gave him space. Which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days. And somehow that was also wrong because he wanted to renovate the apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last few months, I had made peace with it. When I came home, he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, "I want to break up." Then the verbal diarrhea started. He told me he resented me. First, because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable. And he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then, when I started making more money, since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially. And he hated it. Mind you, I never said anything like "it's my money, so I have the final say." That's a rule he imposed on himself, and he hated it. He said he hated our paint scheme, the couch, and even our fucking crockpot. Then, he told me he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time he got the acceptance letters. Only he never told me he had even applied overseas. He said a few months ago he checked in with a friend who's in that program, saw how they were thriving, and decided I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life, and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and fuck him over. I honestly don't even know what that means. He also said he hated that all his friends loved me and didn't let him vent about me. Then he said again, "I'm done." I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt. But after that rant, I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, "Okay, he lost it." He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible. We had been together for 4 years, and all I had to say was okay to our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He said, "Typical. Of course, you're holding the apartment over me," and started ranting again. So I just left. I told my parents, and they're also confused. My dad suggested I reach out to our landlord and explain the situation to see what options I have. I can keep paying the rent, no problem myself. He covered the utilities and some subscriptions. Just to reiterate, I never had a problem with this. I saw that he was chasing his dream, and that was more important to me than a 50-50 financial split. I make good money and am happy at my job. I never saw it as slaving away. I always had the mentality that my money was our money because we were building a life together. Of course, I had my own savings and fun money. But I honestly never cared, as long as I felt he was working towards something and wasn't taking advantage of me. I was fine with it, more than fine. Alex is still mad. He's going between texting me like a robot about the logistics of the split to being a seething asshole complaining about everything. I'm not even hurt anymore. I just feel nauseated by him at this point. I don't know, should I have reacted differently? Comments. Commenter 1. Dude basically hates himself for decisions he took without ever consulting you. He chose his comforts, but now, since others seem in a better position, he is venting on you and making you the culprit. NTA, but your man has a little brain and doesn't know what to do with it. Reply. I would have supported him if he wanted to move away. IDC, if we would have stayed together, because LDRs are hard, but I would have been 100% supportive. Commenter 2. Girl, I've been with a man like that. They want drama. They want toxicity. They will fuck up your life out of pure insecurity and hate. You dodged a massive bullet. I'm sorry this happened. You deserve better. Wish you the best. Reply. Then I hope he meets the telenovela star of his dreams. I prefer my boring happy life. Commenter 3. NTA. Dude basically said he hates you and everything about you. What are you supposed to do? Beg for his love when you can find someone who'll give it to you readily. Nah, sorry this happened and that you were blindsided, but this will be a good thing in the long run. On to the next. FWIW, he sounds jealous, insecure, and emotionally stunted. If what you've written is how things played out, then you dodged a huge bullet. Reply. He was basically doing his own renditions of 10 things I hate about you. I don't care. I mean, he wants to break up with me. Why would I plead? It is done. Commenter 4 NTA. Your response was sort of what I would have probably said in the same situation. He pretty much was like, I hate everything. You've ruined my life. Blah blah blah. What else is there to say, other than, okay. It's not as if he left the door open to work on your issues. He just ranted at you and said he was done. End of conversation. Reply, I mean. Also, in my eyes he had already emotionally broken up with me for a while. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my husband to just deal with my mum. My husband and I just had our first child 8 weeks ago, a beautiful baby girl. After she was born, I asked my mum to come stay with us for a couple weeks to help with everything because I had a quiet traumatic birth and we are new parents. After those couple of weeks, I realized how nice it was to have an extra person to help with daily household stuff or to give one of us a break if the baby wakes up during the night. So I asked my mum to stay longer. I did this without talking to my husband about it, and pretty much just told him about it after I already asked my mum to stay. He was kind of mad about it. But I told him I was still recovering and he's just going to need to deal with my mum being here longer. I have 12 weeks of maternity leave, but my husband only had 6, so he recently went back to work. When he comes home, he will take over the baby duties and he's great at giving her baths and getting her to sleep. It warms my heart to see how good he is with our baby girl. The problem though, is that he shows me almost zero affection or attention. When I was pregnant, he would give me daily foot rubs and tell me how beautiful I am and how much he loves me. Now, I can barely get a good morning or good night out of him. His excuse is that he's tired from work and pretty much being on solo baby duty after he gets home. He told he has a finite amount of energy and can't pamper me the same way anymore. The other night after the baby went to sleep, I asked him to give me foot rub like he used to. He said he was exhausted and just wanted an hour to himself before he goes to sleep. He said I should ask my mum for a foot rub, but I said that's not the same. He told me he never gets a break between work and the baby, so I'm just going to have to deal with being lower on his priority list right now. I feel like that was a low blow to use my own words against me like that. But it got me wondering if I was an asshole for making that decision unilaterally before AITA here. Comments. Commenter 1, YTA. For asking your mother to move in without consulting your husband first. It is his house too. Also, your mother helps you with the baby, and you don't work. But your husband works, then comes home to take care of the baby with no help at all. Then you ask him to rub your feet, as if he hasn't had a hard day with working and taking care of the baby with no help. Edit to add, before anyone says anything about the fact that she just gave birth. I gave birth in May and did perfectly fine with no help. Yes, it is very tiring being a mother. But that is what comes with the territory. Commenter to typically, I'm 100% team mom, but wow, this lady is an asshole. I agree that it doesn't sound like she shares any of the baby duties when her husband gets home. Childcare is absolutely a job. It should be treated equally to her husband's out-of-the-home job, which means both of them work all day and then share the night shift. Of course, he's exhausted, and she just moved her mother in without talking to him. That's grounds for the here's to business cards. One is a counselor and the other is a divorce lawyer. Take your pick. Move Reddit loves, what an asshole. I'm flabbergasted at the level of assholery here. Commenter 3. Sorry, first making a decision that should have been made as a couple and doing it just yourself, but info. You say your husband gave you daily foot rubs while you were pregnant and basically take care of your child. Solo once he gets home from work. When is the last time you gave him a foot rub or catered to him? To me, it sounds like he went from catering you, now catering to the baby. Now you want him to do both, but who's making sure he's a top priority? Commenter 4. Your poor husband works all day to provide for the family, including your mum's living costs. And when he gets home, you and your mum clock off and leave him to do everything, and then you complain he is tired. YTA, for days. Stories number 3. Should I tell my friend what her husband asked me? I apologize if the title is a little misleading. It's not as bad as it makes it seem, but still pretty terrible. So, my friend has an unreliable partner, who is now her husband. They've had problems regarding his insensitivity and unreliability. Basically, her husband doesn't want to do anything that inconveniences his comfort and fun. So if it means thinking about other people, namely her, and having to do something instead of, say, playing with his band or watching TV, he doesn't want to do it. Well, my friend is having surgery on Friday. A pretty serious surgery that will incapacitate her for about 8 weeks. I told her I would be there on the day of and hang out until she was out of surgery. It's going to be a long day, but I promised her I'd be there. Her husband is going to be taking her in and all that. Her and I had a discussion over the weekend about his ability to step up to the plate and take care of her while she is recovering. She will need help with walking and managing her meds so she can stay ahead of the pain. I told her I did not trust him at all to be there for her and that I will be texting him often to make sure he is doing his job. She was all, no. He's going to step up to the plate. I trust him. At first, she didn't and had planned to make meals for herself so he could heat them up for her and clean the house for him. Then yesterday she told me she wasn't going to do any of that and she's going to trust he will take care of her. He just asked me if I would take care of her the day after surgery so he could go hang out with friends. The day after, the first day recovering, and he's already ready to bounce. I thought about it, fuming, and concluded that no, I would not do that for him. A, he promised her he would take care of her, and B, I don't want to set a precedent that he will just call on me when he wants to ditch her, because I can see that happening very easily. And C, if he told her now what he was planning, it would have caused a fight between them. 2 days before her surgery, and she's already anxious about that. I didn't want to add to it. If this was week 2 and he needed a break, I totally get it and would be over there, but this is day 1. Now, the question is, do I tell her about this? Not now obviously, but when she is well enough to receive it. Update. Turns out, I didn't have to tell her. He told on himself. I just got a message from her about it. Well, he told her that he asked me to, as he put it, babysit her. She is upset. But mostly, I think she is just tired and disappointed in him. I asked her if he told her to test the waters and see if he could just leave while she was sleeping. She said yes, because he said you'll just be sleeping, right? I asked her what she said to him, and she said nothing, and finally he worked it out himself, that since it was her first day home, he should stay with her. I told her, when she's better, she has decisions to make. She said in his mind he thinks if he can get someone to babysit her and do the fun thing, then in his mind, it's a win-win. I told her he's a selfish prick. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Yes, tell her, neutrally, as if it's not an issue. This is how I'd play it. Hey yo. Let me know he was looking for help on day 2. And I'm sorry I'm not free, but if you are really desperate, you can call me after X time. You can do her a favor. After he's failed, he gets no favors. Consider being free that day when she calls, because you know he's almost certainly going to bail on her anyway. Maybe over meal prep a bit so you can leave a few things in her freezer, but only after he's failed to feed her. Let him fail first, then help her. Never, ever cover for him in advance. Be luckily able to help when he doesn't perform. She has to feel his failure first, unfortunately. Nothing but that anxiety and suffering is gonna teach her. Reply, good idea, letting him fail first, and he will. I am seriously wondering if he will find a way to leave her on Saturday, and his friend knows his wife is having surgery. Why would you ask if he could come out knowing that? What the hell? Commenter 2. Absolutely let her know that her husband didn't want to do even this little bit for her. She probably already knows, though. Reply, she does know. I think she is hoping for the best, and yeah, she does make excuses for him, and will even say she is making excuses for him while doing it. I think in her mind she is thinking that surely he wouldn't ditch her so soon, or wouldn't do it while she's recovering from something that requires a lot of help. I told her when she was making plans to make meals for herself that she really had to think long and hard about how much prep work she is doing for herself, because she knows how unreliable and selfish he is. I am not entirely sure what made her change her mind about that. I think she was offended when I told her I had absolutely no faith in him at all to step up. And now, here we are. Why did Uno's friend marry that guy? Reply, I questioned her when she did, based on the problems they were already having for this kind of behavior. I think she fell into the trap of marrying his potential, and not who he really is. Commenter 3. I wouldn't tell her, she doesn't need the worry before surgery. Tell her husband no, you can't help on day 1, and he'll have to manage himself and see what happens from there. Either he manages and things go well, or he doesn't, and your friend finds out how important she is to her husband in the scheme of things. Honestly, this feels like a moment where the future of their relationship could go 2 ways, so I would try to stay out of it as much as possible. Reply. She has talked about leaving him over the past several months since his selfishness is epic, and he never takes responsibility for his actions when he's called out on it. He'll pull the "I don't like your tone" card when she tries to talk to him and makes it about that. If I had a nickel for every time she's called me after an argument and asked, "Am I crazy?" because he gaslit her in some way, I definitely don't want to tell her now, not before surgery. Though I do wonder if he will find another way to go. Maybe ask another friend of hers. He told me in the text he hadn't talked to her about it. That he was waiting to see what I'd said first. Does Umo's friend and her husband have kids? Reply. The sad thing is, he does have a child with his previous wife, and he has a terrible relationship with his kid, because he never took an active interest in him. His kid is an adult now, and wants nothing to do with him. LO. No, she doesn't want kids, and he already has one from a previous marriage. Is it possible for the husband to get therapy? Reply. Also, he refuses to get therapy. Update on friend who had surgery and her husband wanted to bail on her. Hello? The surgery went well, so I will start there. It was a long day, and she didn't get home until after midnight. She told me her husband was doing a great job when I checked in on her on Saturday, and when I checked in on Sunday, he was still holding strong, and then came Sunday evening. She sent me a message that his care was slipping, but not to message him about it, however. He is working from home right now, which was up in the air last week. Hopefully he will do that the rest of the week. I told her on Friday that if she asks me for something to come over, do something for her, etc., I will do it, but not if he asks. I will not bail him out. She agreed with me on that. He has a class on Wednesday evening that he teaches, so she asked me if I could come over while he's gone. I'll get even more intel then, I am sure. She did say he was pretty shaken on Saturday when he saw how weak she was and how difficult it is for her to move around. Hopefully he will stay the course, but who knows. Thank you for all who commented on my last post. I told her about it, and she got a kick out of it. I will say that he did try to float the idea to her on Wednesday night of going out because she'd be sleeping anyway. She told him that I refused to babysit her because I felt it was inappropriate for him to bail on her after her surgery. He shrugged. She told him she agreed with me, and that he has a history of not being there when she needs him, and bailing when things get hard. So this was an opportunity for him to step up to the plate. We shall see what happens. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She sent me a message that his care was slipping. But not to message him about it, however. He is working from home right now, which was up in the air last week. Hopefully he will do that the rest of the week. I hope friend doesn't cave under the notion, well, he did more than I expected. Reply, same. Their entire relationship has been incredibly imbalanced. He can't even be bothered to remember her birthday, and as of this year, be there for it. Commenter 2. She needs to get out of that relationship while she still can. It's not going to get any better. Reply, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, or ever. I've known her for over 10 years and she has talked about leaving him for lesser infractions and it still hasn't happened. I don't believe she will until she does, you know what I mean? Commenter 3. When he's constantly negotiating the least amount of effort that she will accept. It speaks volumes to his lack of quality. Commenter 4. It's so unfair. His refusal to care for her body when in such a vulnerable state is a refusal to care for her heart as well. Nobody's heart should be breaking when their body is in a fight to recover. Would he accept this from her if the tides were reversed? I think not. Stories number 4. Parents kicked me out and are now trying to guilt trip me into coming back. I would like to firstly say that some members of my family are on Reddit, and if they see this, I really don't care. Secondly, this is going to be a long post since I want the story to be set straight in case anyone finds it and tries to twist it. Last week, I-22F was kicked out of my family's home for not following the rules and being disrespectful towards my parents. I was sick last week with strep throat, but I honestly think that it was like a cold or something, because I felt completely fine and the antibiotics made me feel worse. Not the point here, but I was sick, and I stayed home from work because I didn't want anyone else getting sick. I work with kids. And I had this terrible neckache that was spreading to my head. I couldn't hold my head up without a hand on it to massage the pain. That's how bad we're talking. So I told them that I was staying home because I was sick, and they weren't happy about it, but I'm a grown-ass woman, and if I can't work, I'm not going. My job demands a lot of sitting, walking, talking, etc. I couldn't really do much except shuffle around awkwardly with my hands on my neck every 10 seconds. So my dad comes into my room, not even 10 minutes later, and tells me that I am required to help around the house and that I wasn't allowed to have my boyfriend over, and if I wanted to see him, I would have to drive myself over to his house. I told him I wasn't doing anything like that I was sick and in pain and I needed to rest. If I was feeling better and wanted to see my boyfriend, he was most likely going to come here because I can't drive with that pain in my neck being so bad. He argued with me, saying how I'm lazy and started comparing my pain to his, and how he still got up and went to work when he wasn't feeling well in the army. I told him that this wasn't the army, he's not my drill sergeant, and he needs to let me rest, so please get out of my room. Then my mum comes in to yell at me, saying I have until 11 o'clock to be up and out of bed, and ready to help around the house, or she was going to drag me out of bed and force me to do work. I again calmly told her, no, I am not feeling well. I need to rest, so I will be resting for the remainder of the day, or until I start feeling better. She then said no. You are going to be up by 1045, and you are going to help around the house with all the chores that need to be done. I'll admit, I start getting angry here, because I raised my voice and said I am sick with strep. Unless you want strep, I suggest that you please let me rest. She got all huffy and said she would be back at 1045 to get me out of bed. We'll skip ahead to the end of the day when I started feeling better and I wasn't in as much pain as I was in the morning. I was up and tidying where I sit in the living room to play my video games. I was texting my boyfriend and he said to guess where he was, and I was like, this man is outside my house, isn't he? And I check. Sure enough, there is his car, parked on the street. This is important. Trust me, so I go outside to say hi to him for a second. We're both standing out on the street in front of the house, and my BF is massaging my neck a little bit. My dad comes out, maybe 5 minutes after I initially did. Tells me that my boyfriend has to leave, and he has less than a minute to do so. I asked if he was serious right now, because we weren't even on the property. We were standing on the street. My dad reiterated that he was serious and that he had made a rule and that I needed to follow it. I said his rule was stupid and that I'm a grown-ass woman. My dad said 1 minute and walked away. My boyfriend told me just to stay calm and that they literally can't tell me what to do anymore because I'm an adult. So I go back inside and both my parents try to confront me about my behavior. And I just calmly said, no, I don't want to talk to you right now. Boyfriend just came to see how I was doing and gave me a pair of pants, and they said they didn't care that I didn't want to talk. They wanted to talk, and I again said, no thank you. I'm going to bed since I have work in the morning. Good night. They then followed me into the hallway leading to my room and forced their way into my bedroom doorway after I repeatedly told them to please leave me alone. After some arguing, my dad said, we just want what's best for you, but if you don't want to listen, then you need to find someplace else to live. And I just stayed silent because I wasn't going to argue. Then my mum shoved her way into my room. She stared, yelling at me to sit down and listen, and I told her no. She pushed me in my shoulder and said, sit your little ass down and listen. And I again told her no. I was already reaching for the phone at this point and trying to call my boyfriend, and she tried intimidating me, saying he's not going to deal with you anymore. He's going to see your true colors and he's going to bring you back here. I got angry at that, and after calling him, getting into a screaming match with my mum while on the phone with him, she told me, get out, you need to leave, and I punched a wall. She then said, oh my God, we should have her committed. She's insane. I would have laid my hands on her to show her insane, but I'm not one to stoop to their level. It's wrong, I know. But she laid hands first and she was almost asking for a reaction out of me. Unlike her, though, I have self-control over my emotions. So I packed most of my clothes into different bags and left the house. That was Monday, September 9th, which was also mine and my boyfriend's anniversary. So it makes sense why he wanted to come see me. I have been back once with my cousin to get the rest of my sweaters and the stuff out of a cube organizer. My parents have texted me a couple times asking to talk and hoping that I'm okay and that they miss me, but I've ignored all contact with them unless it was regarding my dog that I had taken with me for the weekend. Now they're sending family members to check in on me and try to find out where I'm at and try to get my side of the story out of me, but there really isn't much else to tell, and I really just don't want to focus on any of that negativity when I've already started feeling better since I've left. I'm currently looking for a permanent place to live in near my city so I can be close to work, friends, and school. I am considering starting a GoFundMe, but I don't like asking people for money and would feel terrible doing so. Please give any advice on that topic, even if it was going to be used for deposits, rent, food, bills. Anyways, sorry again for the long post. Thank you for reading if you stayed this long. Relevant comments. No, I am the middle child and only girl. What's strange is that my older brother did the same exact things when he was living with them, and they never treated him nearly as terribly as they did do me. No, I was not paying rent. We had a verbal agreement that after I turned 18 several years ago, I was to go to school and work a job to avoid paying rent. They broke that agreement by making me pay $200 in rent for about a year, which left me nearly broke every month because I was working a minimum wage job. They tried again recently to make me pay $250 a month, but I was very firm on the agreement that we had as I'm still in school and working. That's actually what I told them the last time a huge fight like this happened, and I left the house for 3 days on my own accord. I wasn't forced out when I returned. I had a long conversation with them about how I would help around the house a little more, but they needed to stop treating me like a child because I wasn't. I say tried because at the time I was working 2 jobs, and between the both of them, I wasn't making enough to comfortably support myself. The job I have now allows me to thankfully try to save some more and rent a place if I can find something. But no matter what I did, they still treat me like a kid. Edits from the main post. I went through a lot of the comments and found some things interesting. Firstly, I never said I punched a hole in the wall. I did punch the wall, and I know I shouldn't have. It was very stupid of me to have done so. Like I said in the comments, it takes a lot to get me angry, but that's no excuse. Secondly, I was not playing video games in the common area. I was sitting in the living area, with a mask on because my mother had forced me out of my room and do chores and entertain the aunt she invited over. But I was sick and in pain. Third, I saw a doctor. The antibiotics were prescribed by them and they tested me for strep. I only said I didn't think it was strep because I didn't have any of the typical symptoms like a sore, itchy throat or a cough. There is an update on my page and on this sub, I will link it below in the comments. And my apologies for any confusion in the original post. I didn't notice that some text got deleted until just now as I was reading the comments out to my boyfriend. Best wishes to you all. Update, parents kicked me out and now are trying to get me back. Dad, hello. Wednesday, 12:32 a.m. Dad, no one said you cannot home. I love you up. You are my baby girl. I only want the best for you, and so does your mum. I don't know what we did to you that makes you unhappy. All we want is for you to be successful in life. But you can't do that while you're always laying in bed, asleep, not going to work, or always sick. You need to take better care of yourself. I love you. No one said you cannot come home. You can. Yesterday, 7:58 p.m. Dad, your mother and I are a mess. We miss you. I wish we could have just been able to talk it out. I hope you are doing well. Mother, Op, I am thinking of you. When you are ready, hopefully we can talk. I am a disaster. I love you, and I care for you. Little brother. Mother, is there a game tomorrow? Mother, and do I have mail? Little brother, I'm staying out of your business. If you want something, you can come by letting me know a day in advance and fix your attitude. Otherwise, don't come around at all. Atai's brother. There's games every Friday. Mother, I was just asking. Geez, little brother. I didn't do anything wrong, Mother. Neither did I. I was just asking you a question. I don't think I need a day's notice to ask if I have mail. I wasn't going to go pick it up, little brother. Yes you do, because as far as it goes you don't live here anymore, so you need tell me a few days in advance to pick something up. If you don't think you did anything wrong, then that's what you think, but it ain't the truth. Little brother. Anyway, I'm busy, I have to go. Rest of the post. It's been about a week since I originally posted. I wanted to provide some clarification on certain things. My family is Hispanic and my mum is very authoritarian. It's her way, or the highway. I don't want to get into it, because this will be a very long post, and I want to keep this shorter than my original. Regarding money and bank accounts, I am working on getting my money out. I am going to head to the bank today, 9/20, after work, and work on getting it closed after withdrawing all the money. I was also going to sell my car and use the money to buy a little scooter since I am now responsible for all my medical and car insurance bills, but I am just going to get the cheapest options and hope for the best. I was only selling my car because I was still living at home at the time. I am currently living with my boyfriend and on the weekends I'll be staying with my aunt about 30 minutes from my city. I have a tour scheduled for a 1-bedroom shared bath today, after work, and an apartment tomorrow at 3, both in my area and close to work. I want to thank you all for the support you have given me, and those who have reached out privately. Even more so, thank you so much. I only have 5 people supporting me IRL right now, and they're the only family who believe me. My parents ended up turning my little brother against me, and that feeling sucks. The feeling is indescribable. Last week, he was on my side, and this week is the polar opposite. Attached are the screenshots of the things they said when I didn't come back home right away. Again, thank you all so much for your support and your help. I will update again once I get everything squared away, but I will still respond in the comments as they pop up. Final update. Parents kicked me out, and now are trying to get me back. Hi everyone. It's been a couple days since I posted anything in regards to the situation. This is going to be a long post, so I'm sorry. I'll do a TLDR at the end. I realized while reading the original post again that I didn't actually include the way my parents tried to get B back into their house with them, so I'll start there. Please forgive me if this is a little all over the place. I've been very stressed and my memory in that time was kind of foggy, so about a week after I was kicked out, I went back to the house with my cousin, who offered to help and go with me. We only went to get the rest of my clothes and some other things I wanted to bring with me to my aunt's house. I was still really stressed and not feeling the greatest because of it, and I didn't end up cleaning out what I wanted to clean out from the bins I brought. Anyways, that's off topic. When I went to get all that stuff, my dad let us in and tried to give me a hug, but I didn't let him. Context: they use hugs as a way to kind of get you to listen to what they have to say. They'll hug you and whisper into your ear like, "I'm sorry about all this happening. Please come back, forgive me, it won't happen again." So I don't hug them after fights because I hate dealing with that. So I packed up my things, and as I was packing up, my little brother and cousin were talking about the situation and my brother's school life. He's graduating high school this year, and I work at his high school. Then my mum came home and basically stormed into my old room and looked at us all like greater than. Before saying hello to my brother and cousin, I didn't get a hello, but for the sake of being polite and not starting anything with her, I said hello very flatly. No emotion behind it. She hates when I do that BTW. She thinks I'm being an a-hole when I talk like that. She didn't say anything, just huffed and walked away. Both my parents kept coming into the room and staring at me. My dad with sadness and regret in his eyes, my mum with anger. Once I got everything packed away, I asked about the dog and ended up taking him back to my friend's house with me. Side note: Papa did not like being away from home, and he was so stressed about the situation that he got sick while I was staying with my aunt. So I took him back to my parents' house. He's been doing better since, just very itchy, which is normal for him around this time of year. So I got everything all packed, and then I went to get in the car with my cousin, and my parents tried talking to me several times, and I told them I wasn't ready to talk to them. Yet they insisted, and while I was sat in the car, they came back up, opened the door, which was closed, and started apologizing, saying that they loved me, and they missed me, and they've been a wreck since the whole thing occurred. And my mum started saying how she wasn't sure why I hated her so much, since she's done nothing but support me in anything I've wanted to do. Her support was just a lot of criticisms when I told her about things I was passionate about. Cosmetology was a big one. I wanted to do hair for a short period of time during the pandemic, because that's all I had to keep myself occupied aside from video games. I didn't say anything as they both told me how much they loved me, and how they missed me, and how they've been a wreck without me there. Anyways, I have the whole things on video, and I really hate that they do that to me. I ended up staying with my cousin's girlfriend that night at her apartment. Then my dad started texting me almost non-stop for the next 5 minutes about insurance things and how they missed me back at home and how it was good to see me and they hoped I was doing well and taking care of myself and how I always have a home with them. So, to finish off this update, I'm going to rapid fire what's been going on since then. I went back to my aunt's house to go through all my things and see how I could fit it all into my car. I did a damn good job fitting all that in there, to be honest. Stayed with my boyfriend for another week to be closer to work and told him about my original post. He agreed with a lot of your guys' suggestions, but said that I need to also take all comments with a grain of salt, because something that works for me might not work for someone else, and vice versa. I read him some of the hate comments too, and he got very huffy about people being stupid. I agreed. Ended up moving in with my grandparents temporarily and had my mail flow transferred over there. I did get the mail I was asking for in my last little update. After moving in with grandparents, I sat down with my parents and had a real talk with them. I told them that what they did was wrong, that I am not a child, and they had absolutely no reason to treat me the way they did. They shouldn't have forced their way into my bedroom to argue with me, and they should have just let me rest like I needed, because being up and about was not going to make me feel better, especially if I had to entertain or stave off my phone to talk to the aunt I didn't even know was going to be coming over. I explained that I was sick, and I wasn't feeling good, and I didn't want to see anyone that was coming over because of it. I then told them that they have been doing this for years, and they need to understand that it's just not going to work that way anymore, and that they need to be okay with the fact that I'm trying to grow up and they are trying to hold me back. They agreed, and they said that they were sorry if I felt that way. They can see where I'm coming from, and they shouldn't have acted that way. There were some things we agreed on, and some things we didn't agree on in the moment. We've since revisited, since we're on speaking terms now. Regardless, they said that I should give some thought about where I'm going to be staying so I can get to work on time. Talked to my younger brother about what he had sent me. Read the texts to my parents, and they actually told him that he needed to apologize because he had no right to be saying that to me. He tried fighting back with, "But it's true. She needs a day's notice." And my dad looked at him and said, "Yeah, to show up at the house. She doesn't need a day's notice to ask about mail, dude." And my brother was like, oops. So yeah, we apologized to each other and kind of left it at that. We still don't talk much, but we never really have. He wants me to chaperone his homecoming dance since it'll be pretty cool. IDK about all that yet. Got sick again since I didn't finish the first round of antibiotics. Plot twist, it was strep LMFAO. The doctor gave me something different, since the amoxicillin was hurting my stomach and not having the same effect. This time around, since I've been taking it a lot this year. Been sick a lot, lol. Saw my boyfriend again for the first time in a week as of this post. I spent the night at his house and we ended up playing Animal Crossing all night. Did a lot of homework and regular work. Being sick doesn't mean the grind stops. Even if I missed a day or two for actual work and had to leave early the rest of the time, I pushed through as best I could, and I'm proud of myself for that. I still haven't talked to my older brother about the phone call we had where he told me that he can't deal with all this, and that if I needed his help, I knew where to find him. He's checked in on me once since then, but I only said working since that is what I was doing. So yeah, that's about it for now. I was supposed to hear back from a possible apartment. Never did so. I'm taking the L on that. I'll answer any questions in the comments, and I will finally link all the update posts in my original posts comments section. Stories number 5. Aita, for calling my dad's girlfriend some random woman when we were arguing over him giving her a say in my life when they don't even live together. My mum died 5 years ago, and for the last 2 years my dad has been dating Ruth. She doesn't live with us, and I, 17, haven't really spent a lot of time with her. Mostly her and my dad go on dates, or she'll come over while I'm spending the night at a friend's house or my grandparents' house. I know my dad cares about Ruth a lot, and I don't have an issue with their relationship, but recently, I've been frustrated by my dad's willingness to give Ruth a say, like parental style say, in my life. The first time it happened was when I asked Dad if I could spend a weekend with my best friend's family at their cabin. Dad told me he needed to think about it, and weeks after I'd been, he mentioned that Ruth had been against it and that they only agreed for me to go as long as I called Dad at least 3 times while I was gone. In my head, I was like, WTF is Ruth getting a say for... I asked him what Ruth had to do with anything, but he ignored me. Then I wanted permission to stay on my own while Dad was out of town for a few days. Dad involved Ruth in that too, and because she didn't like the idea of someone under 18 staying home alone, he said I had to choose a family member to stay with. Those came up in our fight, but it wasn't what the fight was about. My best friend's family invited me to an out-of-state Christmas market with them in December. I asked Dad if I could go. It's going to be an all-day thing. Leaving early and getting home late, my dad told me he needed to talk to Ruth, and I asked him why, and he asked what I meant, and he said he didn't like me questioning his decision to involve Ruth. I told him Ruth's not my parent, so why should she get a choice in this? He told me Ruth's his partner, and I told him I didn't care because she should not have any influence over me. She doesn't live here. They're not married. She's not my parent. During the fight, I told him I don't want some random woman having a say in my life like that. My dad told me she's not some random woman, and how dare I minimize and dismiss her like that. He told me she's entitled to have a say if he says so, and I'm being a brat about her involvement. I told him that if he ever needs me to step in and care for him, he should be just fine with me finding a new boyfriend and giving him a say in his care. Dad did not like that one bit. He told me it was petty and dangerous to give someone I hardly know a say in potentially important care if he's impaired in any way in his later years. And I told him he might not be comfortable with it, but if he can do it to me, then I can do it to him. I told Dad I should let this future boyfriend decide where he gets sent to in that situation. Dad ended up really fucking pissed off at me, and he vented to my aunt, his sister, and she took my side. He wasn't happy about that, and he brought up the part where I called his girlfriend a random woman. Aunt was still on my side, so Dad sorta told her where to go, and he went to fight me, and asked if I had apologized to Ruth yet. I said no, and I said I wasn't going to. Ruth's pissed as well, and has a big issue with me viewing her as just some random woman who should have no say in my life. But I stand by that view of her. Does it make me tar though? Maybe. I'm asking here because I figure nobody knows us, so nobody has a bias for either side based on that. Comments? Commenter 1, NTA. She's not your mother. She's not your stepmother. She's no one to you. Just because she occasionally keeps him warm at night, doesn't give her the right to have a say in your life. Dad's fast-tracking his way to low contact. Commenter, to love how OP flipped the situation on Dad and old age care, and he suddenly did not like it. Kudos up. Keep holding that mirror to his face. Also, remind him, it is crazy acts like his that make children turn 18 or 21 and go no contact with their parents. NTA reply, the way he didn't like that either. He's not happy with the idea of some boyfriend when the same could be said for this, and he knows it. Just because I'm under 18 does not mean Ruth should get influence over me when she hardly knows me and doesn't live with me. But I won't let that point drop if he keeps bringing it up. He doesn't get to hide from it. Commenter 3. Lowu NT. The fact he is uncomfortable with the situation, when you reversed the roles and made hypothetical scenarios, should tell you everything you need to know. You are a star for standing on business. Keep fighting, little one. Commenter 4. You aren't married to Ruth. You aren't engaged to her. You don't live with her. She isn't my step-parent, nor my adoptive parent. I barely interact with her, but you love her, and I'm sure you'd like me to be closer to her. And here's the rub. What you're doing has the opposite effect. It seems that she's your excuse for saying no. You don't want to say no to me. So you say that she doesn't want me doing things? She doesn't even say it to my face again. Not that we interact all that much. You aren't married or engaged to her. Neither of us live with her, and she isn't my adoptive parent, nor my step-parent. So here's where we are. Every time you say no, you can't do that or have that, because of Ruth, I lose respect for you, and you make me less and less accepting of Ruth. You do this. Ruth isn't my parent, but apparently she has a veto over my life. If you feel me, pull further and further away from you. Think about this conversation. Think about your own decisions and actions. You will have pushed your own child away, and it will be 100% your own fault. Reply, ill. Okay, so this is actually pretty good, because it sums up what's happening here, and maybe Dad will actually hear me when I say something like this. Stories number 6. My husband's coworker says he's entitled to my husband's secret hot sauce recipe, and it's turning into full-blown workplace drama. All right. Buckle up, because this has turned into way more chaos than a few chicken wings should ever cause. My husband, Mark, is one of those people who's scary good at one random thing. He's an electrician by trade, but his real passion, hot sauce. He's been perfecting his recipe for years. I'm talking spreadsheets, fermentation jars, notebooks full of ratios and pepper blends. Our fridge has an entire shelf dedicated to his experiments. Friends and family always beg him to bottle and sell it. But Mark's never been about that. It's his hobby, his art, and yeah, it's his thing. So back in July, we got invited to a big summer barbecue at his boss's house. It was one of those company get-togethers, lots of food, lots of beer, and everyone trying a little too hard to impress the boss. Mark decided to bring his signature wings, tenders, and steak tips all coated in his hot sauce. He doesn't brag. But I've seen grown men tear up over this stuff. That's where Cameron comes in. Cameron's one of Mark's newer co-workers. He's mid-30s, loud, always talking like he's got something to prove. He'd never had Mark's hot sauce before, and the second he tried it, he basically lost his mind. He went from, "Oh man, this is good," to "Dude, I need this recipe," in under 10 seconds. Mark just laughed it off at first, told him, "Sorry man, that's a trade secret." Cameron didn't drop it though. He asked again and again. I heard him ask 5 separate times that night, each one getting a little more serious, like he couldn't wrap his head around someone saying no. Fast forward to Monday. Mark shows up for work. And guess who's assigned to his crew that week? Yep, Cameron. First thing out of the guy's mouth. "So, you gonna give me that recipe now?" Mark told him no, explained politely again that he doesn't give it out. He's had bad luck before. A friend once tried to replicate it, and even posted it online, claiming it was theirs. Mark doesn't want to deal with that again. And honestly, fair enough, but Cameron just wouldn't let it go. Every lunch break that week, he brought it up. He'd say stuff like, "Come on man, I'll pay you for it," or "It's just sauce. It's not like you invented fire." Then he started getting passive-aggressive about it, telling other guys in the shop that Mark was gatekeeping or being a jerk about some dumb condiment. By Thursday, Mark was over it. He told him flat out, "Cameron, drop it. It's not happening." Cameron pouted like a kid. Literally slammed his toolbox closed and muttered something about selfish people. Thankfully, we had a vacation planned starting that Friday. Mark got 2 blessed weeks away from the guy. We thought maybe Cameron would cool off. Nope. The Monday after we got back, Mark had to stop by company headquarters to drop off some paperwork. He walks in, and there's Cameron. Like he's been waiting for him. "Hey man," he says, grinning. "So did you finally bring me that recipe?" Mark said it was like déjà vu from hell. He just shook his head and walked past him. But Cameron followed him through the hall, still asking. It's gotten so bad that Mark's boss, Dan, has stopped assigning them to the same jobs. Dan even told everyone at the shop, "If Cameron asks for Mark's radio frequency, don't give it to him," like they're trying to keep him from stalking my husband via the company walkie-talkie. The kicker: Cameron's already gotten to formal warnings about harassment. 2. The first was after Mark filed a quiet complaint with HR, explaining that he just wanted the guy to leave him alone. The second happened last week after another confrontation in the parking lot. Apparently, Cameron told Mark, and I quote, "You're being ridiculous. It's just sauce. I'm entitled to the recipe if you're gonna bring it to company events." Mark said he actually laughed out loud at that. He told Cameron, "You're entitled to absolutely nothing except a plate of wings I chose to share." That's it. HR gave Cameron his second strike for continued unwanted conduct. They told him, if there's one more incident, he's done. Now here's where things get wild. Apparently, Cameron's been telling people at work that he's going to reverse engineer the sauce. He even took one of the leftover wings from that barbecue home to analyze it. One of Mark's buddies heard him bragging about it at lunch. So my husband's out here doing his job like a normal adult, and meanwhile, Cameron's probably at home in his kitchen, pretending to be Walter White with a bottle of Frank's Red Hot. Mark's trying to be the bigger person, but it's getting under his skin, he told me. It's not about the recipe anymore, it's the principle. I told him no, and he just keeps pushing. I honestly think Cameron has some weird power complex or something. Like he cannot handle that someone told him no about something he wants. Dan, the boss, has been super supportive, thankfully. He told Mark he's got his back, and that if Cameron so much as mentions the word recipe again, they're calling it harassment and cutting him loose, apparently. The rest of the crew is getting sick of it too. They've started calling him Captain Tabasco behind his back. It's crazy how something as small as a damn hot sauce recipe has turned into workplace tension. But here we are. I told Mark maybe it's time to start bottling and selling it. If people want it that bad, he might as well make money from it. But he says that would ruin the fun. He doesn't want it to turn into a business or some legal mess. He just wants his coworkers to enjoy his food without it turning into a custody battle. So yeah, Cameron's hanging by a thread at work. HR's watching him like a hawk. And my husband's still not giving him the recipe. Moral of the story: some people can't handle no, even when it comes to hot sauce. The funniest part is, if Cameron had just been chill about it, Mark probably would have shared a simplified version, a guest-friendly version he sometimes gives close friends, but now, not a chance, he said. Even if that guy offered me $1 million, I'd still tell him the secret ingredient is minding your own business. Stories number 7. Aita for getting a hotel after spending one night at a friend's house. Back in March, my 2 friends, a married couple, invited me, my best friend, and another mutual friend to stay at their house for an event they were hosting this October. Me and my best friend wanted to get a hotel because we thought it would be more comfortable. But the hosts insisted that we stay at their home. They said they would have plenty of space and really wanted us to stay with them. We went back and forth about it for a while, but eventually we agreed to stay at their house. My best friend and I drove 14 hours to their house only to find out the sleeping accommodations were an air mattress that felt like you were sleeping on wood and a futon laying on top of a metal slat bed frame with no support. I slept on the futon with the mutual friend, and my best friend slept on the air mattress. We all slept horribly and were in so much pain in the morning. That night, my best friend and I ended up booking a hotel and told the hosts we were staying there for the rest of the trip. The hosts were expectedly disappointed, but we were pretty upset that they insisted we stay with them when we made it clear we value comfort and were prepared to book a hotel in advance. Aita for not sticking it out for the remainder of the trip at their house. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I tell everyone, I'm in the memory foam stage of my life now. My days of sleeping on a half-inflated air mattress under a dining room table are over. Commenter 2, NTA. Insisting that you stay at their place while not providing adequate sleeping accommodation is not being hospitable. Commenter 3. NTAU went a fair distance for their event and stayed one night and paid for your hotel. They may feel some kind of way, but you prefer a bed, like most people. I don't even stay at people's houses anymore when visiting from out of town and book a place and say I don't want to impose. I'm a light sleeper. I have stomach issues, all true, and they understand. Don't stress about it too much. Commenter for NTA. I always invite people to stay in my home if they're in town. But I have a very comfy, decent-sized bed in my guest room, and if we're having a party and a lot of people are staying over, our futon is also comfy for most people. I've slept on it plenty of times myself. Our couches all recline. Our air mattress is about a foot thick, and we have a ton of blankets and pillows for everyone. But I have plenty of friends who either prefer a hotel or going home to their own bed, and I would never presume to try and change their minds, nor take it personally if that was their decision. Stories number 8. I'm sick of the double standards when it comes to age gaps. Okay, so I wanted to get this out. I'm sick of the double standards when it comes to age gaps. I'll give you an example. A friend of a friend was called a pedophile because he was 18 and dating a 16. Even though where I'm from, Scotland, 16 is the age of consent. No one usually raises an eyebrow at that age gap. It's usually Americans from certain parts. I'm sorry. But if you think 2 teenagers, 2 or 3 years apart, dating, hooking up is the same as the scum who sexually abuse children, you're not only an idiot, you're disgusting. People think as soon as you turn 18, that's you completely grown up, but you're still a teenager. And here's another thing. A friend of mine, back in mid-2019, was 20 and dating a guy in his late 30s. I'm sorry, but that is fucking creepy. I see these creeps going for 18 and 19, and even those in their 20s. I'm not saying the guy was a pedophile, but why the fuck is a man who's nearly 40 dating a girl who's barely out of her teens? And let me make one thing clear, it's not a double standard. I'd say the same if it were a woman or a guy. I don't care if you're male or female, straight, gay, or bi. If you're trying to hook up with or date someone old enough to be your kid or grandkid, that is fucking creepy. Comments. Commenter 1. I've read your post twice and I'm still unsure what you think the double standard is. Commenter 2. I get what you're saying. A 2-year age gap between teenagers, especially ones in their late teens, isn't problematic to me. Most teenagers are still in high school and are generally in the same life stage. It's the person in their early 20s dating someone so much older that makes feel iffy, even if legally they're both adults. The gulf between the two in terms of life experience and life stages is immense. Not to mention there's going to be likely a significant power imbalance in this situation. Commenter 3. I wish when I was 20, someone besides my mother told me how fucked up my 31-year-old boyfriend was. I wish I had listened to my mum, but wasted 7 years on a literal loser. I should have known he just couldn't date in his age range. Because they could see how problematic he was, my mum tried. But she also knew better than forbid it, because she knew she couldn't. If social media was more prevalent at the time, I may have realized how problematic it was, but it was still MySpace age, and I was way too cool for that. Commenter 4. At every year in my life, I believed I was fully mature and understood most things pretty well. Now I'm in my 40s, I'm believing this less every year. It's so interesting to read these comments and see young people fighting to be seen as fully mature adults. I would have done exactly the same, and had I read this comment, I'd have rolled my eyes and downvoted it because I was different. Not to say all older people are more mature than younger people, certainly not. And there are many young people who are smarter than older people too. But there is something that comes with age. I'm not sure what it is, it changes things. Stories number 9. Witter, if I refused to attend my best friend's wedding because she's making guests pay for everything, I too, 8F, have been best friends with Emily to 9F for over a decade. I've seen her through every breakup, job change, and finding herself phase. So when she told me she was finally getting married, I was genuinely thrilled for her. At first, everything sounded fine, until the wedding planning started turning into a full-blown money pit. For everyone but her, Emily's having a destination wedding in Amalfi, Italy, which already means thousands in flights and hotels. I expected that. What I didn't expect was a Google Doc titled Wedding Guest Contributions. It had a detailed breakdown of costs that she expects each guest to cover. $300 for the rehearsal dinner mandatory, apparently. $250 for group activities like boat tours and wine tastings. $150 for wedding attire coordination. She wants everyone in matching pastel tones for her photo. Shoot $100 wedding gift fund. Yes, she literally made a minimum gift contribution. When I told her I couldn't swing that much, especially after travel costs, she brushed it off with everyone's chipping in. It's not that big of a deal. Love requires effort. Meanwhile, she's been posting on Instagram non-stop about her new designer handbag, luxury spa days, and even a bachelorette trip to Paris, which she covered fully for herself. But expected the bridesmaids to split her finances flat. ATP, it doesn't even feel like she wants to celebrate love. It feels like she wants to fund a lifestyle while draining everyone's pockets. I told her I might not be able to make it. And she got cold, saying she expected more loyalty and that real friends support each other's dreams. Don't get me wrong, I love her, but I'm starting to feel completely taken advantage of. I've supported her through everything, but I can't justify going into debt for her aesthetic wedding lifestyle. So, WIBTA, if I told her I'm not coming because I refuse to pay thousands for someone else's big day. Comments. Commenter 1. I wouldn't pay to attend many things, but especially a wedding. Reply. Exactly. I mean, it's her day, and I'm literally her best friend. Why would she demand my loyalty in such a manner? I want to be there for her, but not at the cost of my budget. Commenter 2. You can have my loyalty, but not my life savings. NTA for living within your means. Commenter 3. No friend would do that to other friends, period. This isn't a wedding, it's a charity ball. If a bride wants a dream wedding of a specific style, they pay for it themselves. Commenter 4. I had my wedding near Amalfi this year. We paid for everything except people's flights and hotel. We even hired a shuttle to run from the hotel to the venue. Reply. This honestly, I hope she's on Reddit to see what people have to say. Stories number 10. Aita for planning a trip with my friends instead of babysitting my sister's kids after finding out she didn't want me joining her trip with our mutual friends. Hello guys, so my 29-year-old sister has 3 kids. 1.5-year-old and 4-month-old twins. I've always felt bad for her for not being able to join hangouts, since there's no one to watch the babies. So I would frequently offer to babysit so she could go instead. This has made our mutual friends, all 25 and older, closer to her, which I don't really mind. I'm 20 BTW 2 weeks ago. My sister and our mutual friends planned a 4-day trip, which happens to fall during my school week off. I was super excited and asked where we were going. She said the girls didn't think it was a good idea for me to come since I'm really young, and that the other mutual friends' sisters wouldn't be coming either because they read 18 menos 19. I said fine and tried to understand. A few days later, I was sending pictures I took to myself using my other 23-year-old sister's phone, when I noticed a message from the trip group chat. I was curious and clicked on it, to my surprise. One of the friends suggested that the sisters come along, the other 2 girls and me, and that it would be such a fun trip with us included. But my older sister refused and said, no, I really need her to babysit my kids, and that she suggested this specific week because I would be off school. She hadn't communicated this with me at all. It was my only week off, and I really wanted to go somewhere and have fun. I definitely wasn't planning to babysit the whole week, especially for a toddler and for month-old twins. I was really mad, so I planned a trip with my friends and didn't tell her. Since she hadn't told me that she was planning on having me babysit, and I guess she was planning to tell me the same day she leaves. My trip is scheduled 2 days before hers. Yesterday, while talking with my mum about needing to buy stuff for my trip, she asked, "What trip?" I said, "My week off with my friends." "I thought you knew," she said she did, but added, "You're not going on a trip?" I said, "Yes, I definitely am." She got really mad and asked, "Who will babysit my kids then, since my other sister is going with them?" My sister started calling me selfish and reminded me she hadn't had a trip since she was pregnant with her first, which is 2 years ago. I do feel bad for her. But this isn't my responsibility. I study all the time. And this was my only week off. I really wanted to go. She's refusing just so I can babysit. And it bothers me that my mum is also on her side and trying to convince me to cancel my trip. I've tried convincing my sister to hire a babysitter, but every time, she argues and ends up firing them. I really don't know what to do. My trip is in 3 days. Should I cancel my trip? Comments. Commenter 1. Where is the fathers of the kids? Why isn't your mum volunteering to watch them? NTA. As far as you knew, you were never asked. Important to distinct between asked and told. So you made your own plans. Go have fun. She can deal with her own kids. Commenter 2. NTA. Let your mum watch them. Set a boundary now, or these kids will end up being your responsibility on all of your breaks. Your sister needs to learn to ask, not manipulate. Commenter 3. And also, time to start rolling back how much you help your entitled sister. She's twisted what should be considered a kindness into something she feels she is owed. I really hope that your sister pays you whenever you watch them, and if you haven't been charging, it is time to do so. This is very much a case of giving an inch and someone trying to take a mile. Commenter 4. You did everything right. Your sister had no right to exclude you and manipulate you for babysitting. It sounds like you're very sympathetic to her busy life. So she probably would have done a lot better to just be a decent person and to ask you for the favor. Bottom line is that they are not your children. When your sister was your age, she started having babies. That's her choice and her responsibility. She can ask for help, but cannot assume that others are obligated to step in. Even family. The part that really gets me is the manipulation. The fact that she would take your 1 week of vacation and, without asking you, plan that time out for herself. In spite of you wanting to go with her, NTA, enjoy your trip. This is a boundary you are setting that will dictate how she treats you over this lifetime. Her behavior was unacceptable. You're doing the right thing. Stories number 11. When I was 16, I robbed several bank ATMs and was somehow never caught. I'm in my 50s now, so I am probably not going to get arrested for this, but I still don't know how this never caught up with me. In the early 80s, ATMs had a feature called Deposit with Cashback. It was a check cashing feature, but for some reason it ran on the honor system. Of course, this feature went away, eventually. But I figured out that if I just put an empty envelope into the ATM and I didn't seal it, I could claim that the bank lost it. So the ATM would cash the check, then a week later, the bank was like, that envelope was empty. For whatever reason, Baybank let me get away with that. That summer, my family stayed in a cottage in Hyannis for 2 weeks. During that time, I opened savings accounts at 5 different banks. Using the rented house address, they mailed me ATM cards within a few, says, I deposited with cash back on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and early Monday. Back then, the limit was $400, and they were going to check the ATMs by Monday, so the scam would be over. I scored $100,001,984. No one ever came looking for it. I was never questioned or arrested. I don't understand why or how. The only thing that happened was the FDIC had me on a list of people who banks shouldn't do business with. I didn't even find out about that till I was 21, 5 years after the crime. I was in college and tried to open a bank account, and no bank would let me. 40 years later, I have a bank account. And nothing ever happened. It's the only time in my life that I had good luck. Of course, I blew the money. Back then, it was enough to put down on a house, or easily bought a car. I spent it on girls, weed, and beer. It was fun, but I wish I was smarter. Comments. Commenter 1. It's hard to be dumb and lucky enough to commit crimes but smart enough to spend the money wisely. I remember a story of someone who worked making poker machines. Put in an exploit, won a stupid amount of money. Then used that money to gamble on poker machines they hadn't rigged, and lost it all, and then got caught. Your outcome of having fun with the money but not ending up completely destroyed with it is one of the better outcomes. Commenter 2. Just don't be like that dude who discovered an ATM glitch. Got away with it, but regretted it so much, he literally turned himself in and got jail time, even though the police and bank were never aware of anything. Commenter 3. Honestly, it makes sense though. Banks probably just patched the loophole instead of wasting resources chasing down every kid who pulled it off. Back then, record keeping and tech weren't tight like today, so you slipped through the cracks. Kinda sucks, you blew the cash, but at least you got a story that's insane to tell now. If anything, you're lucky they didn't try to make an example out of you. Commenter 4. You said you blew the money on weed, beer, and girls. I'm confused. How did you blow the money? Sounds like a sound investment to me. Stories number 12. My husband slept with my niece while I was on a business trip. This niece is my brother's daughter, and she is 23. For more than a year, I felt she is looking way too much at my husband. 40, but my mind couldn't accept this, and I told myself I am crazy. I know she admires him, she is very vocal about it. I didn't do anything, because I never saw anything suspicious on his side. My brother is a loser, to be frank, and a stupid excuse of a father. Drinks, gambles, and usually unemployed. My husband collects him frequently from hospital and pays for the medicine he has for liver. A lot of times when my niece was still a child, I took care of her, cooked for her, got her ready for school. Her mother left with someone else and she abandoned her with her father. My husband is the complete opposite of him. He takes care of his appearance. Has successful business, 45 employees. She looks up to him and said she learnt a lot from him about how a business work. When the line was really crossed was when one day she insisted to iron his suit. He always wears suits and ties and she wanted to prepare it for him. I was very busy with my 7-year-old daughter who had a hard time getting used to the new school and I let it pass. A very stressful period for me, and she helped. I told her I will just order food every day. But she wanted to be useful, so she said she cooked what he liked to eat. Never asked what we want, just what he wants. And 3 days ago I found out he slept with her while I was away on business trip. I let my daughter with them in the house. But he took her to my mother. I actually got an anonymous text, which turned out to be from a friend of hers. I hoped it a stupid joke. But I told him I know he slept with her, and he started apologizing and explaining that it happened just once. That they had wine, and it happened. I don't know what to do now. Edit will add this to my post, greater than. Another reason why I think he didn't groom her was that this is not the first time she sleeps with a married man. She did it last year too. I had a talk with her back then, and she was very proud of what she'd done. She wasn't looking for love, she just fancied the idea to sleep with a man in power. That man was also with high social status and in military. It's her thing, she sees these kind of men as superior and worthy. She never gave any chance to a guy her age, and she looked down on them. She is not like a lot of modern young women who want to be independent and strong. She knows she is beautiful, and is playing the beauty card. She is extremely feminine to the point that even her voice is always soft and low. Like she wants to appear submissive and good girl. She never went clubbing, for example, because good girls don't do that. Doesn't want to drive a license, because she feels it's masculine to drive a car. Oop for me, is she? Yeah, typical angry wife at the mistress. Call it so, but I helped raise this child. I was a mother figure to her. I didn't feed him. I didn't help him with homework. I didn't get him ready for school. My husband slept with my niece. I had to return home to find a total mess. I have an update. My mother tried to talk to her again, and Anastasia, my niece, told her that she hates me and she hated me for years. That I have everything and didn't have to work for it, that she was left behind by her mother. Was pitied and even mocked at school by others because she has a loser drunk father. While I had a perfect life, a perfect career, and a perfect husband, I was envied and admired. She was shamed and pitied. I also needed to return home, because it will affect me in court if I don't allow my husband to see his daughter. I found a mess in my bedroom. My husband was cleaning it up with my mother. Anastasia threw out all my stuff from the closet and wanted to put hers there. Mother said that my husband needed to grab her hands and immobilize her because she acted crazy. Hit him, and in the end he also hit her to stop her from scratching and kicking, my mother confirmed. She did attack her. My husband called a doctor to give her something to calm her, and this worked. He begs me to forgive him. He was always the arrogant, confident man who was being begged for one thing or another by people around him. I never seen him so ruined. My mother cried and told me this is not the first time she attacks her when angry. But she never did anything about it because the girl suffered enough, and having something like that on her record might hurt her future even more. Also, my brother continues to be a total piece of, and asked my husband if he will give him more money because of this. It almost sounds like he wants her to be a prostitute. Okay, maybe it's too much, but it def goes that way. I just want to stop talking to all of them. Oop. My husband had this weird thing for her, or about her. He didn't want her near our daughter, because she is a bad example. At the same time, he liked that she is so feminine, and he also thought that we help her too much. He admired her for being better than her parents, lol, and thought there is something wrong with her, at the same time. Update 2, I think I am allowed to post this. As it's been 3 days since my original post, however, after this, in order to respect the rules of this sub that helped me cope so much, I will stick to my own profile with possible updates. I had a talk with my husband. He said he didn't think she was that unstable. Great. So you fucked her because you thought she is stable. How does that help? She wants him. I already blocked her number, but she still texted me from some new one that I blocked to how we all call her crazy, but it's the crazy who makes sex interesting and he will come for more. I really cannot believe this is my niece. She said how she deserves him more than I do. That I don't deserve a man like him, that I deserve one like her father. My mother is in a sensitive situation now. She said that the girl was hysterical with both of them, her and my husband. Neither wanted to call the police because that would lead to so many questions about what happened between them. He doesn't want his associates to find out, and my mother, well, it's still her granddaughter, and she didn't want to cause her problems. This is why my husband in the end slapped her so bad that it threw her to the floor. But it calmed her down because she got scared and covered her face in fear. He literally told her that if she doesn't get out from the house he will slap her again. It really felt like I know this from my mother, only physical force, or rather the threat of being beaten, slapped by him made her to take a step back. My brother is drinking as nothing matters to him, and even asked my brother if he can give him more money because of this, and in a sick way above it all. Not like because of what you'd done, more like because you got to FCK my daughter. It's almost like he feels that his daughter sleeping with my husband was a way to get under my husband's skin or show that he is thankful. This is all in my head. No one confirmed me this hypothesis, but these are the vibes I get from him. I even speculated whether my brother knew about what she is doing. You suspected my mother, but I bet she didn't. She is a broken woman because of her son being such a waste of space. But she has always been very open with me about everything. Comment about convo with husband. While I was at the hotel, I talked with him on the phone and asked for his version of events. I told him that I am willing to believe they had sex just once, but I am not naive enough to believe there was nothing before this. With great difficulty, he admitted, and showed me texts from her, so I believe that she spent a night in our house while I was away. This happened 2 months ago. She texted him that he father threw her out the house. This was the reason she decided to go and live separately, paying rent because they had an argument and he pushed her into the wall. It was middle of the night, and she texted him if she can go and sleep in our house. I read the text messages. All the screenshots were a proof. He picked her up. We have 3 empty rooms. She slept in one of them. This, however, cannot be proven. He swore nothing happened, but they drank in the kitchen until 4 in the morning, and they talked about her father, and she just told him that she wishes her father was more like him. But he didn't think much of it, he said. He took it as appreciative comment, and after emptied his glass, he went to sleep. Confirming that she's not divorcing. I was accused by some that I am the worse here, because instead of protecting her from him when she was a teen, I let him, her. Where did you even get that from? I will not forgive him. I will not divorce him. Just leave me feel without calling me unhinged for that. Yes. His infidelity now is not my biggest concern right now. I kept this title for the update because it all started with this. I am hurt more by the fact that the girl I loved so much not only wanted my husband, but she also hates me. She hates me from the bottom of her heart, and I didn't even suspect this. She hates my daughter, who also adores her. I thought she adores her too. They spent so much time together. My niece was playing with her for hours, and now I found out she is disgusted by me. I don't think you realize how horrible this is, and what a shock. Also to know that my mother hid from me how unstable she is. What she has been talking about, me, his infidelity, and betray hurts. But you didn't ask me what our relationship is, how close we are, how much he means to me. She meant to me more than him, after that first cheating episode. I think a good part of my love died. But we didn't divorce, we stayed for the child. I know it's not a good idea, but for us, it worked somehow. I still loved him, but not so much anymore because he hurt me. But I loved my niece more than him. And the fact she slept with him is horrible, but what I heard her telling me about how she feels about me hurts even more. New update. So a bit of backstory. I played a big part in raising my niece, Anastasia, 23, now 24. Her mother left with another man, and her father, my brother, was an alcoholic his whole life and neglected his daughter. Sometime physically ended up hurting her. I married Ivan, who was his opposite. From a poor child he became a successful businessman, and last year, when this mess took place, his business had almost 50 employees. Over the past months he grew it even more. He took care of himself. Wore suits, was confident, slim and tall, and a good father to our 7-year-old daughter. Anastasia adored him. She was 1-6 when I got married to him, and finally we had a man in the family to control her father. He defended her. If she called in the middle of the night that her father friends are over there and she is scared, Ivan picked her up and drove her over to us. She was very vocal about how much she admires him. My husband and her father didn't get along well. My husband was fed up with picking him up from hospital, paying for the liver issues he had. Ivan also took care financially of my mother. He cheated on me several times, but I felt secure in this marriage, and he controlled this chaos of a family. Fast forward, it was revealed to me that Ivan and Anastasia have been messing around behind my back for more than a year. After or before family dinners and whenever I was not around, Anastasia changed a lot, or revealed her true face. She told me she wants my husband, she deserves him more than me. I divorced him, and very quickly, he and my niece started dating officially. We weren't even divorced yet actually. Meanwhile, my brother died, and he even tried to ask Ivan for money due to the mess. The relationship between my niece and my ex didn't last long. He started drinking too, cried in front of our daughter, and he blamed Anastasia for ruining our marriage. He turned violently three-mount with her. She was obsessed with him, but ended up leaving him. Anastasia was always out of this world beautiful, and she quickly found someone else. And my husband tried his best to get her back, more than he ever tried to get me back. But their relationship was 90% a bedroom fantasy. She did everything he wanted her to do. So, my therapist helped me understand this was the reason. I blamed myself. Now, 1 year later, all three of us are single. Anastasia apologized to me, and even though I still love her, I couldn't forgive her and don't want her around me. She realized who he really is, and it saddens me. But she is all alone, no friends, no family, nothing. She still reaches out from time to time. He is dating around 20-something-years-old women, and I am still in therapy. But have a good job and take care of my daughter Maggie. I found out that my mother and my brother knew all along about the affair, but no one told me. They probably feared what happened anyway, that we will divorce and no more support for them. Comments. Commenter 1. So your mother and brother knew. To me, that is the ultimate family betrayal. Your own mother preferred you be cheated on than to tell you the truth. I am sorry you have such a horrible family and hope you can teach your daughter how to be a good person. I personally wouldn't allow my daughter around such people. You and her deserve so much more. Reply, they also betrayed her. They basically were willing to P1MP her out. Commenter 2, that's exactly what they did. They were pimping out both of them. Disgusting. Reply, Ivan was literally coming to my mother's house and entering Anya's room. She also had a room there, at her grandma, basically. My mother confessed it to me. Nothing was happening during those moments. He visited Mum to give her something, or take something from her, and he also went to see Anya for a few minutes, but it was inappropriate. And my mother never told me. Commenter 3, I remember your posts. I'm so glad you got away from him, and also devilishly happy that your ex and Natalie didn't work out either. They both deserve everything that happens to them. Reply, you know, I still love him, and I still love her. But I learnt to leave without them. Commenter, for what does Anya say when she tries to reach out to you till now? Does Maggie still ask about her? Does Ivan still ask about her? How is her relation with your mum? How is your relation with Ivan? How is your relation now with the mutual friends that knew about Anya's affair when they used to date officially and comment on their posts together? Do you still engage with them? How are you doing? How are you feeling? What is your status at work now? We miss you, hope you are doing great. Triply. Ivan wants Anya back, badly, but it hurts me way less than a few months ago. He bought her a very expensive necklace, like my 2-month salary or something, and she didn't accept it. Ivan always had options. Women were giving him attention all the time, and not only due to money. He is arrogant and narcissistic, but there are plenty of women, me, and my niece included, who confuse them with high confidence. And he has a kind of charm about him. Something cold, detached, no idea what, but he has charisma. So he always had options, but he wants her more than he wants me back, and I need to deal with this. They are still hooking up occasionally from what I heard. When she reaches out, she is usually crying that she has no one. She rarely calls though. Usually, just texts me. She is blaming him. That he turned her against me, and were telling her for years how much I think she is a burden, and how only he can take care of her. So Ivan and her are still in touch. Somehow. He took her with him over a weekend somewhere. I know this from a mutual friend that was also there. They behaved like a couple. I don't really engage with any of them. Just some friends that I guess had no idea about the affair. Work is good, but we are all worried a bit AI is taking over all our processes, and well, we know what that means on the long run. I joined a book club too. Commenter 5, good luck in everything. But how come she still texts you and blame him, but still hook up with him, and travel with him, and behaving like couples while he is dating 20-year-old women? She still considers herself single. Why is she hooking up with him and using her, and then cry about it? I don't get it. Reply, you remember her. She was totally unreliable. She is a pathological liar too, or maybe just manipulative. The weekend thing happened 2 months ago, so I have no fresh information. The last time I heard from her was 3 weeks ago, and she didn't mention it at all. He is dating, but maybe it's not the right word. He is messing around with them. Reply, morning everyone. I am from your Zero Pay, so here it is morning. I will try to address a few questions here, because it's easier than to just reply. I do not consider taking on your back, ever. And the thing is, her affair with Ivan is not even the top reason. I saw texts between them, and she also told me painful things directly. She hates me, and my daughter. I don't say her upbringing doesn't explain it. It does, but doesn't excuse it. My mother always criticized her, compared her to my daughter, and to myself, for those who were reading my posts before. Anya is pretty curvy. My husband once, when wanted to mock me, said, even your niece has bigger TTs than you. She was a D-cup in high school, and my mother used to body shame her, saying she looks like a S. She is tall and well proportionate, and has a beautiful body, but she wanted to be skinny like me. Due to the chest, she couldn't really wear button-up shirts, and my mother kept telling her to lose weight. Anya wasn't overweight, but she did have thicker legs, and was chest-heavy. At first she was ashamed probably, and then, with Ivan, it took me some time to realize she started using that to her advantage. She kept asking me in front of him if she needs a bigger bra, because she thinks she would need a double D already. And was like, but look here, if this bra really fits. She was talking to me, but he was also there, and tried to ignore. She did stuff like getting out of the bathroom in underwear, or a towel around him, and then said she didn't know he was home. I do know for sure, she confirmed that she tried to get him in her bed for a long time. 2. Anya didn't do this with Ivan only. She flirted with her cousin's boyfriend, whom she disliked and mocked. But she got a job at the same company he worked for, and he was doing her job. Some things I don't remember if I mentioned in my op, but I do admit, and you will see it if you search this topic on Baru, that I was wrong when I claimed he never manipulated her. He did. He told her, I don't love her, that I consider her a burden. It's not that I never told him when we were alone that I am a bit overwhelmed with her, and if her parents were present, it would be better. My priority was my daughter, and he told her I said she is a burden and I should only care for our daughter. One of the reasons I didn't divorce him, even though he was cheating on me, was Anastasia, precisely. My brother and his friends were really dangerous for her. Some touched her, and even tried to essay her. We did inform the authorities. I am a woman, my mother is an old woman. We needed a man to take care of this too. She called at 1 a.m. to come and pick her up, because one guy is following her around the house. Ivan made sure she has a lock on her door, but it was still not a good situation. So he picked her up many times, and she spent the night at our place. He interfered when my brother was physically absing her. It was way more effective to have a man there to pick her up and bring her to safety. I would have been afraid, but Ivan's opinion about her wasn't a good one. He said she is not a good example for our daughter, true, that she is easy, that she sleeps around. Yeah, the irony. So he kinda made me feel like, okay, he is cheating, but I also make him endure this nightmare of a family. He told me many times he is so sick of all of them. My brother, my mother, and my niece. Stories number 13. Aita for calling my wife selfish for even considering taking a job across the country and trying to uproot our family. So my wife was recently offered a job across the country, which requires relocation but also will have frequent travel obligations. My wife feels this would be a huge plus to her career, but issue is we have 2 children and my practice is here. What she will earn is not even half of what I currently make. She is currently not working, so I told her if she wants to take the job she would have to help with childcare expenses, which would likely include a nanny, cause I sometimes work nutty hours, depending if I have a mandated hospital shift. She feels this is unfair because she would have to cover her own living expenses and paying for childcare, on top of that, would leave her with very little. This job is not even providing a relocation bonus. She suggested we move, but everything we know is here. Our children have their friends here, and transferring my medical license is not all that simple. Her final suggestion is she takes the kids. I stay here and cover the cost of childcare and expenses, 'cause she claims childcare and editor's note. Cost of living is cheaper, just not cheap enough for her potential salary to sustain me being a sap. I want to support her, but her suggestions seem half-baked to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I would understand if you were a stay-at-home dad. That would be reasonable. I didn't really get. Are you completely against of her going to work? Or this one specifically? If this one, then you are completely justified, especially considering that there are kids involved. Ripping them away from their friends is rude and unnecessary. Reply. I am not against her working at all, just not in favor of moving to a different state. What are the long-term prospects staying locally for OOP's wife? Reply. In what she wants to do, not great. She can leverage her engineering degree to work at a civil engineering firm doing consulting, but she did that prior and she hated it. Her current offer actually would have her working on infrastructure and work on something with meaning. She is a female engineer and sick of working in consulting. She wants to do something that matters, but it is a big boys club here, which is a factor as to why she became a SAHM commenter to NTA. This seems like a really strange situation for a married couple with children to be in. On the face of it, your wife thinking her taking this job is a viable option is crazy. It clearly doesn't make sense in all of the ways that matter logistically, financially, emotionally. The fact she suggested she take the kids and you stay is very, very strange. So it makes me wonder what else is going on. Are you happily married? Has she been a sap for a while? Maybe she's worried about not being able to get back into the workforce and thinks she has to take any opportunity she gets. Have you sat down as a couple to discuss her getting a job and what that will look like for your family, what's important, etc.? Are you willing for your career to take the back seat for a while so she can re-establish herself in her career, etc., etc.? Lack of communication seems to be the issue here, but also may be deeper-rooted problems in your marriage. Downvoted commenter. As medical doctor, he could get a new job easily. He doesn't say this. There is more than one side here. Reply. It actually is not that simple to just go practice in a completely different state. Where we would move to is not part of IMLC editor's note. Interstate medical licensure compact. Also, I cannot just up and leave my patients like that. Also, commenter 3. What is it about this specific job that has her willing to leave you on the other side of the country while she and the kids start a new life? Does she know somebody at this job? Or have connections in the area that you know of? Seems fishy to me. Reply. From what she has told me, she was tapped for this position by her old professor and mentor from college. On if he has his own practice or works for someone else. Reply. I have my own practice and also work and teach at our state learning hospital, Director Multiple Sclerosis Center, and Director Neurology Residency Program. I specialize in MS. I am sure many would understand, but many of them would be disappointed, and it would take time for me to find someone that is willing to do this, especially at the rates I take. Not many here take Medicaid. How old are children? Reply, 5 and 8. Update 1. Aita for calling my wife selfish, for even considering taking a job across the country and trying to uproot our family. Brief update since I got some requests, not much has changed. I spoke with our kids, and of course, they like it where we are, they are kids. The reason my wife wants to take this job is because she feels due to nature of how she got the offer, her old professor, mentor, and that she is also a female engineer. She understands her position. My wife is free to do what she pleases, she does not need my permission, but by no means can she expect us to uproot everything on the drop of a dime. I would never ask that for you. I did suggest she tries and create her own firm here and find like-minded individuals who share a similar experience and create the work environment she wants. She is concerned she won't be able to break through that barrier of entry. I told we could find a means to fund said venture. But logistics of moving does not make sense at this. I would need at minimum a year to get my affairs in order, working on research. Working on opening an infusion center near the hospital that would take every insurance. This is a big one for me since many of the infusion centers near us do not take certain insurances since they pay so little. Looking to possibly expand my MS clinic with more providers who are willing to do this labor of love for our community. I cannot just drop all of that. I did tell my wife I have no intention of stopping her. And if she wishes to go, that is fine, but I would not be sustaining two households. She moves, she would be responsible for all costs associated with the move. I will cover our shared expenses and primary residence, and that is all. I will cover everything here, and she would be responsible for her own expenses. I told her I would probably also lower or get of the credit cards also, since I know her, she would live off credit if she had to. I threw out the option, if she can request she works from home 3 out of the 4 weeks she is not traveling, and we can take it slow. See what the housing market is like. See what schools look like. Normal stuff you do before moving. She was not in favor of waiting, since allegedly they need her answer by October. I have no desire to divorce, but I am a child of divorce and was raised by my dad. Overall, his outlook on divorce has always been no point fighting if the person has already checked out. If my wife wants out, I will respect that. My wife has only been ASAHP for around 5 years. She worked when we had our firstborn, and well into the pregnancy of our second. She took maternity leave when that was done, went back to work. Few months after her return, she was passed for a project contract. She did the legwork to secure which lead her to quit and stay home with the kids. Our kids have been in daycare, under grandparents' care. My mum took 2 years to help with our firstborn, her parents took off time for our second. Our second has been in academic daycare, as she puts, since they were 3. So it is not like she does not get breaks, or is always with the children alone. My hours can be chaotic, but I made her well aware of this when we started to date and progress. When we started to date, I was already vested in our community. My gut tells me she is going to take the job. And yes, it possibly will lead to divorce, and if that is the case, given how much traveling she will be doing, I suspect I would be granted primary custody. I would not take CS from her, have no desire or need for it, sorry for the stream of consequences. It is slightly disjointed, cause this isn't a frustrating position to be in. I have no desire to be in this position, but I have other responsibilities I cannot just drop without proper notice. If it comes to divorce, that is the way it played out and you just roll with it. As my parents told me, I will tell my kids. Just because they were no longer together does not mean either of them loved me any less. Granted, it was not a cross-country thing in our case. My parents lived blocks away from one another. Was a pretty easy transition on my part. I hope we can do the same for our kids if need be. The deal is far worse than I thought, but it is a small startup thing with a small team, who won the project since they took a huge cut on their profits. So pay is actually a lot less than half what I make, more like 1/3 of what I make, if that. So I can see how she cannot afford to cover any shared expenses. She probably will barely be able to cover her own expenses, we will see. But all signs point to her taking the job and we will just adjust. But, if divorce happens, it happens, that is life. I do love my wife, but she is her own person with free will. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So she wants to move across the country to take a job that wouldn't even sustain her alone. Reply. She barely will be able to sustain herself. Allegedly just a temporary thing until they establish themselves as a company first. Commenter 2. If she takes the job, just be careful. See a lawyer about protecting assets in case of divorce, cause my guess is she is by herself. Across the country, no kids. It's like the old saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play reply. If it comes to that, I would not fight it. I will give her half of what she is entitled to. Probably would also just buy her out of the house also. Not going to sweat the little things, she clearly does not like it here. She wants more. That is fine. Commenter 3. I was thinking more about your business and retirement. I hope I'm wrong, but also was thinking of doing it behind your back, not asking for divorce reply. That is a good point. Was not thinking about that. Oop. Responds to a downvoted comment on what his wife gave up when he was in medical school. What has she done to help contribute to the household? Reply: we were friends when I was in medical school. We're not dating. She did not quit her job until our second child was born. And even that was after a year or so. Leaving my obligations on such short notice is not possible and far from professional. For us to move, I would at minimum need a year. Our kids have been in daycare since they were 3, and we had grandparent support for each child. She is not isolated or anything. Yes, I understand she wants a professional career, but this job by all metrics is a bad deal. Commenter 3. What are your hours now, and what will they be after you expand your clinic? You said your hours were already chaotic, so I'm just curious. Reply: outside of my mandated hospital shifts, I am home no later than 7, so around 7 to 7. Once they go to sleep, I may respond to patient messages, review and update notes from 12 to 2 once a week. Sometimes I do work weekends since some my patients are working parents, so that is only time they can come in, but that is like 8 to 11 a.m. Only have a handful of weekend patients. That is a once a month thing. Edit. I know it is less than ideal, but I have my reasons for going this far. My grandfather had MS, and it was rough for him. Commenter 4. I would reconsider child support when the time comes. Your children are young. If you take the child support and do something towards their future, investments or such, it could dramatically change their lives, regardless of how much you earn, save, etc. With young children, it seems like there will be many challenges that we didn't have to face, and a bit extra may make an enormous difference in their lives and future. Reply: maybe ego or pride, but if we divorce over this, I will not request CS, and let her use that money how she sees fit. Hopefully she would do what is best for our kids. I don't want to take money from her if we separate when she claims she could not afford it. I would want to limit my interactions with her as much as I can. If she does not pay, I don't want to have to chase her, request hearings if she does not pay, or deal with her possible adjustments. Thankfully, I have been savings for our kids from day one. I will consult my attorney if it does come to it though. Final update. This will be my last update, and it was a hard one to make. I appreciate the feedback and suggestions, especially the one mentioning the looking at adjacent states. While some will say my priorities are skewed, our children don't want to move, and I have close ties to the community. I do feel I have a responsibility to my patients and students. I know for some such commitments seem fleeting, but for those with MS, it takes a long time to find a doctor they are comfortable with, and that is important, especially with such an unpredictable condition. I run local support groups, hold information seminars, take part in trials for new treatments, currently about to start our own stem cell therapy trial for those with more active and progressive progression that has been resistant to other therapies. Main goal is to get information, but also provide individuals a means to get access to this treatment that already shows promise, but it is expensive. All of that would be moot if our kids did not want to say. And I get it, for some kids don't have a say, but they are an active part of our family, and their opinion does matter. Now, for the claims I am uncaring, I do care and love my wife, but I also feel a relationship is not something you fight for. Either it works, or it does not. Fighting to prove how deep you care or love someone is weird. Who am I to try and sway or change someone's mind? She wants to go, that is her prerogative. So long story short, she did take the job. As for divorce, she does not want divorce, but I am on the fence. Spoke with my parents and in-laws, and they do agree what she is doing makes zero sense, but my wife can be stubborn, so as my Phil put it, once she made up her mind, nothing will change it. Your only options are go with it, and be a safety net for if she fails, and he does agree statistically she will fail. I don't want to be some fallback plan for if stuff goes south. Her plan for the kids is for them to stay with me, and she comes over for major holidays and 2 weeks in the summer. Based off expenses, she will need some additional support. Rent will be around $1,750, not counting utilities and stuff. Her projected take-home will be around $3,500. So more she talks too about this plan, worse it seems. So to help, I offered to cover 6 months' rent. But most likely, This will lead to our separation at the very least. She is slightly upset that I am willing to hire a nanny now that she is leaving. But I explained hiring a nanny when she was not working and our kids have been in academic daycare, as she likes to put. Why exactly would we need a nanny? I reminded her she willfully left her job and I did support that choice cause that is what she wanted to do. Either way, still have not broken the news to the kids. They do know she was thinking of taking a job and maybe far away for a time. I spoke with an attorney and I am going to hold off on it cause everything the kids know is here and they have a established route and support system. So they highly doubt she will try to take them. So overall, going to try this LDR thing but I don't care. A part of me does feel like she is just using me, cause I highly doubt she would make this move if she did not have some level of support. Even her father said as much. End of the day, maybe she wants me to fight for our marriage, but way I see it is a marriage worth keeping. If you need to fight for it, I love her and do not want her to go, but if she feels she must, then she must. I am not going to sit here and pretend her happiness is dependent on me or our kids. She is a beautiful person, and would be egotistical of me to think she will not find another person who is more in step with her desires. I think we will be fine, no matter what happens. I am prepared to buy her out of the house at market value. We'll split what needs to be split, and call it a day. We will co-parent the best we call. I do not hate her or anything. She currently does not like her current life, and that is fine. Maybe I am just a weird guy, but I don't see any point in therapy because the fact she wants to do this means that much to her, and facts are facts. If she was thinking of the kids or our marriage, she would not even consider this as a viable option, let alone take the offer. If divorce ends up happening, spoke with my lawyer and he told me it would be up to me to request it. It is not automatically awarded during the custody portion. I most likely will not request it and hope she does. What is best for our children when it comes to saving for higher education or future expenses like a house or WE? Thanks again the feedback. Our family will be fine. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Move for her, because he loves her and wants to see her career succeed. Do you know how easy it is for a male doctor who's halfway decent to get a job offer? And how hard it is for a female engineer who's had 5 empty years on her resume to get a job offer in the middle of a recession? When the world is fair, and women don't have to speak twice as loud or work treble as hard to be given a fraction of the same recognition, then you can judge her for wanting to take the job. Reply: our kids don't want to move though. Would you be cool if your parents took from what you knew, friends and family, to be away from all of that? Commenter 2. I don't think we've ever seen a more rational and level-headed person. Maybe that's the physician in him. Wish you well, Doc. She's having a midlife crisis and you shouldn't cater to it. Good luck, mate. Commenter 3. A fully rational person wouldn't pay his wife to abandon him and his kids against his will. Reply: I am doing so because I want to provide best possible route for our kids to have a relationship with their mother. I am not a monster. She is the mother of my children. I don't want her to be struggling to the point that even if she wants to see our children, she cannot. We are probably done, but I don't want to force that on our kids. If they want nothing to do her, that will heed for them to choose. But I will limit any excuse she could use that I was the reason things turned out this way. I will just treat it like any other bill. Don't get me wrong, I am fully prepared to divorce. And if she wants to turn this into some spectacle, I am also down to go down that rabbit hole. And trust me, my attorney is more than willing to take my money to do so. Would Oop be on the hook for all of the debt that his wife will accumulate if the divorce happens? Reply: my lawyer explained, while married debt is shared, an argument can be made that debt she accumulated in a different state can be taken out of the calculations, but I will keep track on that. Part of the reason why my lawyer told me to leave her on my credit so I can motor what is spent, and when it gets to a certain threshold, I can pull the trigger on the papers. Commenter 4. Understand your reasoning. But please, stick to your 6-month plan. I fear you are being used. Kudos for including your kids in the conversation. That's huge. Shows you are a caring dad. Honestly, it seems wife wants to bolt, but wants you to be the bad guy on this. Don't. If, after the 6 months, her financial situation has not improved, then force her to make the decision. Hope your patients realize the sacrifice you're making for them as well. Still, NTA, and best of luck. Reply, yeah, I don't want to give her ammo that she could use to poison the well in the future. If she does not see the kids, I want them to see that is on her, and nothing to do with me. Sure, she may lie, but that is why receipts are for 6 months is probably all she is getting out of me when it comes to this. Ope responds to a comment on if he will have enough money to support his kids' college funds while giving his wife the 6-month budget. Reply, we are fortunate. Unless for college goes into the millions, they will be fine. Though, I am also not telling them they have a college fund. I want them to work for their future. If need be, I will pay for school. That is the plus side of being a doctor. Very geriatric field, I will always have generally high income. Either way, my hope is they push for scholarships and pave their own way, but yes, I will be a support for them if need be. Stories number 14. Wedding bartender told all the guests that the kegs were empty. They were not, so this is a $400 USD issue. But it's a principle of the matter situation. Last night, I ordered 2 kegs for my brother's wedding, and dropped them off at the open bar at the end of the night. The venue bartender told me that 1 keg was done, and the other was almost out. They weren't, not even close. We still had like 80% left in each. Here's the problem though. An hour and a half into the wedding, she was telling the guests that we were out of beer, and started serving mixed drinks exclusively. The liquor we bought is obviously shelf-stable. But now, I've got over 25 gallons of beer that's probably gone bad by now. I get that you're gonna have leftover beer after a wedding, but she was telling people early on that we were out. I'm 60/40ths on she was lying for mixed drink tips, versus she didn't know how to tap a keg properly. I called the venue, they're not owning up to anything. What's my next move? Do I have a next move? Small claims court isn't worth my time, but I'm pretty fragging petty. Comments? Commenter 1. Like you said, small claims isn't worth your time. And you already got nowhere with the venue, so leave a review. That is about it. I don't think there is an option that will satisfy or be worthwhile. Commenter 2. How much did you pay the venue, and what was the agreement as to what you would get in exchange for that money? Did you pay by credit card? I called the venue, they're not owning up to anything. Do they deny that she told people you were out of beer? Do they claim she was right and you were out of beer? Reply, they basically said to pound sand, they're not refunding anything. Commenter 3. Without answering your question, how was the beer dispensed? If the kegs were poured with a tap hooked up to CO2 like most bar systems, and they didn't sit in a hot trunk, the kegs are fine and are not bad. You probably have 1 to 2 months to use them. CO2 will not spoil them. If you used some sort of hand pump that introduces oxygen, yes, they will be bad. But I'm imagining no wedding venue would have a bartender using a hand pump edit. You ordered and dropped the kegs off. How long before the wedding did you drop them off? Were they cold, refrigerated when you picked them up? Honestly, this sounds to me like a case of nobody involved knowing anything about draft beer. What kind of venue lets you drop kegs off that you bought yourself? Reply, I picked them up, refrigerated and dropped them off directly at the venue, into ice buckets. They were chilled the entire time. Commenter 3. Reply, how was the beer served out of the kegs? What type of system did they have? It was outdoors. How hot was it? Commenter 4. Possible the kegs were too warm and only pouring foam. I've worked many weddings where the kegs are delivered to warm with not enough time to chill properly and pour almost exclusively foam. So then it takes about 5 minutes to pour 1 beer, if at all. This situation has happened and came down to the wedding party not planning properly in advance. This may not have been the case, but throwing this out there since I've seen this a few times. Stories number 15. My husband earns more but insists we split everything 50/50ths, and it's starting to cause fights. We've been trying to stay on top of bills since our baby was born, but it's been rough. Prices on everything have gone up: groceries, daycare, rent, and somehow it always feels like we're barely keeping up. The part that's been really frustrating is how we split things. My husband earns quite a bit more than I do. but he's set on keeping everything 50/50ths. On paper, it sounds fair, but in reality, it's draining me. Between childcare costs, groceries, and part-time hours after maternity leave, I just can't keep up with that split anymore. I've tried bringing it up a few times, but he gets defensive and says we're partners. Everything should be equal. I get the logic. But it doesn't feel equal when one person is left stressed every month just to match the other. Has anyone else dealt with this? How do you talk about money in marriage without it turning into an argument or guilt trip? Comments. Commenter 1. You say that you are doing part-time hours after your mat leave. Does this mean that you are doing more childcare or housework? If you are, then you can tell him that the split is not 50/50ths and equal. If you are working 3 days a week, and he is doing 5 days a week, tell him he needs to go down to 4 days and you will take on an extra day. If he insists that everything is equal, then make sure it really is. Is he really doing 50% of all childcare? Cooking and cleaning? Maybe he is, but in my experience, it is unlikely. However, your biggest issue is that he is treating you like a roommate with whom he shares a child. If he sees you are a life partner, then he should want to build a life with you, not nitpick over who paid for what. I would understand if you aren't contributing fairly, and he was feeling taken advantage of, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Commenter 2. If everything is 50/50, do you each get a set number of hours to watch your TV shows? A specific amount of data to use for the internet? Does he count how many nappies he changes in order to ensure you don't change more than him? Does he measure out meal portions so that you both eat the exact same amount? Partners don't nickel and dime each other, they support each other. It's not a business arrangement where you claim expenses. Commenter 3. You're subsidizing his life. He gets more disposable income because someone else is paying half the bills, and you have kids. How exactly is pregnancy and childbirth 50/50? How's the split on household labor? I don't believe in separate finances in marriage ever, but to each their own. However, it should be equitable, not equal. The split should be proportional to your incomes. Commenter 4. We're partners, everything should be equal. Can be interpreted in multiple ways. Actually, I'm too tired to go into this. The guy is a selfish ass and you deserve better. Stories number 16. The woman I have been dating for 2 months made a comment that broke my hopes. So I met her on Hinge M33F35 and she's the most beautiful and interesting woman I have ever met. I loved taking it slow with her. Just meet on dates, dinners, movies. The great thing about her is that she is as enthusiastic to plan and make time for our dates. She is not playing games. She is not trying to be hard to get. She is spontaneous. The dates I have had with others have left me feeling that I needed to do everything and be met with mild interest. She is funny and intelligent and we could talk for hours. Then I invited her to my place and she seemed very happy to come over. I asked her to meet for dinner first, then we walked to my apartment. She took one look and said, "Wow, I never think about how poor people can be." Then she chuckled and said something about herself being out of touch, sometimes called herself a moron, and then she strutted off to the couch and made herself comfortable. I stood there frozen. I am middle class and my apartment is in a good part of town. It is very small, yes, but I own it. I felt very emasculated. The thing is that she seemed to not have meant it in a bad way. She was very happy to be there. We watched a movie and I was nervous the whole time because I wasn't sure I would be able to perform, but she was too damn beautiful, so it went well, I guess. Now she invited me over next weekend. I am not sure I am going. I guess we are from very different worlds and I am not sure we mix. Comments. Commenter 1. You have to go because I have to know what her place looks like. Update me. Reply. I am scared to be honest. What if a butler opens the door or something? I am joking, of course. I don't want to hurt her if this is over. Commenter 2. Sounds like she is out of touch and caught herself. But she clearly likes you, and you like her, so just talk to her about that comment. Her response will validate any decision to end or continue things. Don't be accusatory. Just talk about how it made you feel and what your worries are. Until then, don't work yourself up. Reply. I guess I never planned on mentioning her comment. Commenter to reply. All hope is not lost, my brother. She made a rude comment, but is low-key self-aware and still enjoyed her evening with you. Talk to her. The best relationships, friendships, work partnerships, etc., are not those that never have conflict, where you just avoid conflict by not talking about it. The best are ones where you can address them mutually and repair the rift there because it just gets easier each time. You build confidence in the ability to fix whatever's bothering you. Give her the respect of believing she's the kind of person who would listen, apologize, and change. You wouldn't have titled this with "Broke My Hopes" if you didn't care or weren't interested. You're experiencing a little jab of rejection due to her words, but remember her actions. Talk to her. Commenter 3. People saying it is intentionally rude, but it could be a case of foot in mouth. Commenter 4. Take my "have you called her" after this. Seems like you had a connection. Don't give up yet. Please keep us informed. Stories number 17. Aita, by telling my spouse what I don't want to receive on my birthday. My 40th birthday is coming up. My spouse 50's a habit of surprising me with something on my birthday, which is nice, of course. But, in the past years, he has gifted me board games and statues of my favorite comic book character. While I explicitly told him I do not want either of those reasons, we have plenty of games we still have to play, and we're running out of space to display the figurines. Last year he gifted me a figurine anyway. It was a nice figurine and I liked it. However, I also told him I'd rather had gotten something else instead. Today, he asked me what I thought about a specific board game he thinks I will like to get for my birthday. I told him I don't want it. It's a board game I'm not interested in, and I just don't want any more board games. He's angry now, and calling me very ungrateful and impossible to find gifts for. He's done with this shit. He told me I should just make a groceries list with stuff I want, then I do have a wish list. By the way, commenter 1, NTA, your partner asked if you'd like a specific board game for your birthday, and you said no. Why did he bother to ask if he was going to flip his lid if you didn't want it? It sounds like they're in a gift rut. When the dust settles, suggest other things you're interested in to give him a little direction. Reply. He thinks it the perfect gift for me, and he goes out of his way to find something that ticks all the boxes. And you know what? It's indeed be a board game that could potentially be very up my alley. I just don't want it. Commenter 2, NTA, he's done with this shit. Your man sounds like he needs a new diaper because he's a small child. Very immature. He's just buying this stuff for himself and using your birthday as an excuse. That's why he's so mad. Because he's not actually thinking about you. Commenter 3, and gifting is about getting something the other person wants. It's not about the person giving the gift. It doesn't matter what he thinks about the gift. All that matters is what you want and that it's legal, affordable, lol. I have this debate with myself when getting my kids stuff too. They always want tat. I do not want a house full of tat, however. It is their birthday, and it's within budget, so they get their tat. There's stuff I won't buy on principle, but the overpriced Disney dresses, the Jellycat bunnies that have to be the correct brand. We have it all. Commenter 4, you've been very reasonable. I am concerned about his reaction. You don't seem to be, which tells me it mightn't be unusual. His reaction was horrible and unjustified. Does he speak to you like this much? I'd be asking him to take anger management classes, never mind a fecking figurine you don't want. Do you feel safe around him? Stories number 18. My 40M wife, 36F, was seen holding hands with another man. My wife, 36F, and I, 40M, have been together 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs, but we're generally happy. On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight absolutely hammered. She just said she'd had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account claiming to be one of her colleagues saying she'd been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44M, and they'd left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks, then went to the station herself, and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with the guy through the station at about 1045. They didn't see her. Last night, I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claimed she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8 p.m. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night, but that's just because he's the only person in her office she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends, and it wasn't flirting. She's mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent me the message, and says it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. Today, she's been in a terrible mood, and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big a red flag as it seems to be? Update 1. A few people requested an update to my last post, and a lot has happened in the last week, so here it is. I'll post any further updates on my profile. My wife Sam got drunk on a work night out and was seen holding hands with a guy from her office. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she'd spoken with the guy, Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands, they'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague Helen would make an Instagram account, track me down, and message me saying they held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She said, because her and Tom are friends, and Helen's a crazy jealous bitch, as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink, just her and Tom. She said that, according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing live band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting The next day she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently she'd mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, do you think anything's going on with them? Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message saying that they flirt at work and everyone's noticed. Apparently Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She also said that Sam bitches about me to the whole office and it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party and she said she was. She said she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight, saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11, and were at the new bar by 10 past. Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. Sam arrived home about 2 a.m., not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at the location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her. But she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. Sam came home yesterday morning. I asked where she'd been, and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy, has been for a while, so she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today, so maybe this is for the best. Final update. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually, I just said she'd met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know she's alright, but without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early, and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted it wasn't an emotional affair. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone. But she said I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk, and we've drifted apart. I said I'd heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed that they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she'd told me she wanted a divorce. And now they were together, and she wanted me to hear it from her before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day, I was just numb. Didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I've no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update, unless something miraculous happens, so thanks for reading. New updates. What are the potential consequences of IVF fraud? My soon-to-be wife is pregnant and has suggested to her friend that it's mine. The only way this is possible is if she's had our final frozen embryo implanted without my permission. If that's what she's done, then either the IVF clinic haven't asked for my snuff, or she's somehow convinced them that I've granted permission. When I left our shared house in January, I couldn't find my passport, so it's likely she has it. I'm waiting for a call back from the clinic, but I'm freaking out and want to get an idea of the potential consequences. Could she get sent to prison? What will happen to the clinic? What happens when the baby arrives, considering the circumstances? We're in England. Thanks, Edit. I've finally spoken to the clinic manager, and it seems this is all down to my own stupidity. When our last embryo didn't take, we signed all the paperwork a few weeks later to do the final transfer. My wife then developed some hormonal issues, so we paused the process until she could get it sorted out. Then, for various reasons, we decided not to proceed with the transfer, which she told the clinic. Apparently, they just paused the process for up to 3 years in order to protect our deposit, and the consent forms remained valid. My wife had the transfer 6 weeks ago. I'm 41M, about to move back in with my pregnant ex-wife, 37F. How can we make this work? My ex-wife is pregnant with our first child due on Christmas Eve. There's more detail in my profile, but essentially, we broke up last Christmas and I moved back in with my parents 200 miles away. She started a relationship with a co-worker which caused so much drama at her work that in February she reached a mutual agreement that she would immediately resign in exchange for 6 months' salary. The relationship ended and she used the settlement money to restart the IVF process we'd paused years earlier. When I found out she was pregnant, I contacted the IVF clinic, who explained that the contracts we'd signed at the start of the process were still valid and they hadn't done anything wrong. I disagreed, and thanks to the advice, our Legal Advice UK, I hired solicitors specializing in clinical negligence and contract law. They managed to negotiate a settlement with the clinic in lieu of legal action, and my ex and I ended up with about £80,000 each after fees. Plus, the clinic updated their processes to require consent be reconfirmed by both parties before any embryo transfer takes place. For the last 4 months, I've been in regular contact with my ex, discussing settlement negotiations and traveling down south for scans. When I asked why she did it, she just said that she knew this was her last chance to have a baby, and when she came into some money, she took it as a sign that she should go ahead with the embryo transfer before I remembered to withdraw consent. She's since been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which in her mind has absolved her of any responsibility for her actions. She's desperate for us to get back together and raise our son as a family. I'm not interested in being a couple, but I obviously don't want to be 200 miles away from my son. I've got a new job, so I really didn't want to move back down to Hampshire, but she was willing to move up to Yorkshire as long as we lived together. So we agreed to spend the settlement money on a house in my hometown. I picked up the keys last week and I've been furnishing, decorating in preparation for us moving in next week. My ex has no friends or family round here, and no job. US living together is going to be super awkward, but once the baby comes, I'm hoping we can get into a co-parenting routine. The new house has 3 bedrooms, so we'll have 1 each and 1 for our son. We've agreed not to see other people for at least 3 years, her request. What's the best way to navigate this situation? We're both very excited to be parents, and I hope I'm making the best of a shitty situation, but it's obviously fraught with potential pitfalls. I don't see us rekindling a romantic relationship, but in an ideal world, we'll live together for a few years, then sell the house, by which point, she'll be settled here, and we can live close to each other, and co-parent our son. I hope I'm not being unbelievably naive and making a huge mistake. My parents are excited to be grandparents, but they're not keen on the idea of us living together. Update. I'm 41M, about to move back in with my pregnant ex-wife, 37F. How can we make this work? To say my last post got a negative response would be an understatement. It was a strange feeling reading all the replies saying what a mistake was making after putting in so much thought and spending lots of time and effort to get where I was. Someone sent me a link to a TikTok of my previous posts. Hearing the worst time of my life being read out loud really affected me and brought out a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. It made me realize that I hadn't even begun to process what happened last Christmas, or why, and I contacted a therapist the next day. Sam moved in the day before my first appointment. It was awkward, but she was busy organizing her new room, so I just left her to it. That night we ordered pizza and watched a movie. It was nice. I met the therapist the next day and explained the situation. He thought the whole thing was a bad idea. But as we were now living together, he agreed to help us navigate things as smoothly as possible. He thought couples therapy would be the best option. Sam and I have seen him every week since then, and gone through our entire relationship. After 4 miscarriages, the last 2 at 12 weeks absolutely wrecked Sam's mental health. I started cooling on the idea of continuing to try for a child. Instead of talking to Sam, she so desperately wanted to be a mum, I thought it would break her. I just pulled away from her. Of course, she noticed and blamed herself and began spiraling. Couple this with undiagnosed bipolar disorder and the hormone issues which resulted from the IVF, and it was a recipe for disaster. Sam thought, possibly correctly, that I wanted out of the relationship but was too cowardly to come out and say it. So I just checked out and waited for her to get sick of me. The whole Tom situation was the straw that broke the camel's back, and she gave up fighting for our marriage and let me get out guilt-free. In therapy, I've learned to accept my responsibility for the breakup of our marriage. I wasn't a good husband towards the end, and it's a miracle Sam stuck around as long as she did. The time apart made me realize how much I still love her. We've agreed to try and embrace what's happened, and be thankful it brought us to where we are now. Hopefully, we've both learned lessons that will make our relationship stronger. I know I have. So, we're now back living as a couple. I cancelled the divorce, which was taking ages as Sam refused to engage with it. Our son was born on December 11th, 2 weeks earlier than expected, and he's absolutely perfect. I'm holding him as I write this. I know a lot of people who read my previous posts will be disappointed with how I've handled this. But at the end of the day, we've only got one chance at life, and I honestly can't think of a better way to spend mine. Thanks for all your advice over the past year, and Merry Christmas. Can I take my son out of the country without his mother's express permission? My wife gave birth to our son in December. She suffers from untreated bipolar disorder, and after Christmas she developed severe PTSD. We agreed that she'd go and stay with her mum for a week as she was spiraling and needed a break. She never came back and we're no longer in direct contact. Our last conversation was over a month ago, and it didn't go well. She apparently has no interest in being in our son's life, or even getting updates on him. As far as I know, she's still living with her mum 200+ miles away. I've been offered a secondment at my company's Swedish office covering maternity leave for a year. I want to take it, but I don't want to tell my wife, as she would likely try to throw a spanner in the works. I have my son's passport and original birth certificate. Can I just go without telling her? We also own a house together, which I'd like to rent out while I'm away. If she turns up out of the blue and finds someone else living here, could she do anything? There's no mortgage, and all the bills are in my name, but she's on the deeds. To be clear, if she ever decides to unblock me and wants to see our son, then of course we'd come back. I'm not looking to take him away from her forever, but I think this would be good for us. Stories number 19, take you to court. Okay, this was many years ago, so I apologize if some of the details are incorrect. This was the year of our Lord 2006. My big sister had just started driving on her own. My parents did as most parents did at the time. They bought her the biggest pile of shit car that they could find. Relatively reliable, but it was a mid-80s gold Geo Metro. It was a beater, rusty, dented, and dinged, very ugly. And importantly for this story, one of the mirrors was duct-taped on. One afternoon, in the fading light, she was driving to our local Pizza Hut to pick up her paycheck. On that fateful day, as the sun was going down, someone in a big black suburban type of vehicle backed into her front driver's side pretty hard. So hard in fact, that the car was completely totaled. But luckily, my sister was fine. Both parties had insurance. They called the police to take an official report, and my parents started the hunt for a new car. Some time passes, and they get a letter from the Suburban's insurance agency asking for our insurance to cover the cost of the damage done to the Suburban. The Suburban driver was alleging that my sister had been speeding through the parking lot and was therefore at fault. This was news to them. They grilled my sister, who swore up, down and sideways that she was not speeding, and actually that she was going much slower than normal because as the sun was setting, it was hitting the windshield in such a way that made visibility difficult. After some digging, they found in the police report the sheriff's deputy had noted that the prior mirror that was duct taped on fell straight down. So not only had my sister not been speeding, but she was very nearly or completely stopped at the time of the accident. My parents' insurance sent a letter back stating that my sister had not been at fault for this accident, and they were willing to accept the total they had paid for the car several months earlier. A paltry sum of $350. The lady who hit my sister responded back that she would not be paying for anything, as she was very confident that she was not at fault, and told my parents that they would just have to take her to small claims court. My parents responded, bet, and did just that. In order to get all of the paperwork in line for small claims court, they had to take this shitty little Geo Metro to an auto body shop and get an estimation for how much it would cost to replace the panels that this lady had totaled. Well, a car that old was difficult to find parts for, and so they were unable to find anything to replace the panels and the door. So they gave her a quote for how much it would be to repair those panels, as well as replace the tire and suspension bits that she messed up by backing into it, about $4,000. Just before court, they did attempt to go to mediation with her to attempt to get her to just pay the $350 that they had initially bought the car for. Unfortunately, or fortunately, she was still convinced that she was not at fault. Long story short, my parents were awarded the full $4,000, as it was determined that the lady did not check behind her thoroughly enough before backing out of the parking spot. And that's how my parents made $3,000 on a $300 car. Comments. Commenter 1. My son drove a junker Toyota, and we decided to sell it for $1,000. Before we could list it, a drunk driver crashed into it while it was parked in front of our house on a residential street. Drunk's insurance paid $2,000 for the totaled car. Win. Win. Commenter 2. My first car was a '93 Geo Metro. There's no speeding around in those things. 60 miles per hour in 12 seconds, going down a hill, and wind blowing in the right direction, was about the best I could get her to go. Commenter 3. In 2021, I bought an old 2004 Ford Explorer for way more than I should have. I live in Alaska, so good vehicles are not easy to come by. Fast forward to last fall, I hit a moose. Completely totaled the car. Insurance was prepared to pay me a couple $1,000s for it, but someone told me to ask the insurance agent where they found the comparable at because they have to cover the cost of bringing the vehicle from the comparable location. I asked the agent, and lo and behold, the closest comparable was in Seattle. So the insurance company paid me $2,500 for my 20-year-old Explorer and $7,500 to ship it to Alaska, $10,000 total, which is about double what I had paid for it years earlier. Commenter for back in 2017 or so, my dad was driving a Beta Mercedes here in Germany. Base level trim, the kind of shit they don't even export. Zero fancy, and someone swiped his parked car while dodging a cat. Insurance took one look at that and said this is clearly more expensive to fix than to just replace, and gave him 150% of the value of the car, which turned out to be about $2,500. There was a minor dent in 2 panels, and the mirror was broken. Got a junkyard mirror installed for €50, ignored the dents, and pocketed the $2,450. Good deal. Stories number 20. Aita, for straight up telling my boyfriend that I'm breaking up with him because he doesn't want to cook for himself. So, I-27F was talking with my boyfriend 31 meters, and he said that every night he doesn't want to have to cook after his long day at work, so he therefore will be eating at his mum's. Every night he also works from home, that he's not hanging out with me. He's moving into his house soon. While I can understand and appreciate that it sucks to cook for yourself, it feels extremely unattractive to have someone say that they don't want to cook for themselves, especially after spending a decade cooking for myself, every meal, every day. I work 12-hour shifts, and I just think, how would this be if we were together long term? Would I do all the cooking? I guess probably that's a deal breaker. I like cooking for my partner, but it sort of seems like it's not something that he's ever going to do maybe. The question is, would I be the if I break up with him over text and tell him why honestly when I do? Or is it less a hish to say it's me, not him? For context, I'm his first girlfriend. Edit. Am I the if I tell him it physically repulsed me when he said it? Edit 2. For anyone asking how long we've been together. We've been dating about a month, talking, seeing each other for 4 months. He was a virgin, and I'm taking this breakup thing seriously, because I feel horrible breaking his heart. But I'm also thoroughly disgusted. Edit 3, he's a work-from-home accountant. I commute an hour and work as a nurse in a very physically and emotionally demanding field. I expect my partner to pick up the slack when I'm exhausted, as I would do for him. When he said this to me, it was like a bomb being dropped on me. Every excuse I made for him just sort of shattered. I can't even muster the force to text him back because I'm so repulsed. But I have 3 night shifts coming up, so I guess I'll just pretend for now. Update. I don't know Reddit rules, but I said this to someone who was saying I was cruel, and I really want to share this. I liked this man. I was falling in love with him. I posted on Reddit because I care. The fact that a 31-year-old man has no interest in cooking for himself physically repulses me. Maybe because of past relationships. Maybe because there are other underlying things that are adding up. I'm not sure right now. All I know is that when I entered the relationship, I thought I saw a mature, intelligent young man who was ready to start a life with a person who he found equally appealing. Now, I see a spoiled man-child who will have me cooking and cleaning for the rest of my life because he had such a long day at work. There is a woman who is prepared to do every single bit of the emotional, sexual, physical labor that is involved with rearing children, running a family, teaching someone how to love. I need a partner, not a child. Partners share the burden of life's tasks. When I am down, I need my partner to lift me up, and vice versa. So most of these comments are correct. It is a huge red flag, and I'm better off focusing on taking care of myself and maybe purchasing my mum and stepdad's home so they can finally retire and my brother and his partner have a stable living situation. Regrettably, I do think it was a mistake posting this. I appreciate the comments from everyone, but no one told me what I wanted to hear because the comments aren't from him. Ultimately, what I wanted to hear from him is that he would try, and that's not what he told me today when I called. I am a nasty woman in his world. As much as that hurts me, I have known for a while that I need to learn to let go and leave. This was just an exercise in that, if I hurt your feelings in the comments, I'm sorry. I'm just heartbroken. Relevant comments. Does the BF know how to cook? Reply, he knows how to cook. He told me he does some time at home and even has made donuts and other random things during COVID. He knows how, he just doesn't want to do it, I guess. What's really going on? I guess he just expects me to cook for him and do the traditional woman's role. Commenter 1. Info. Does he cook when he hangs out with you? Does he know how to cook? Have you been invited to meet mum and see their dynamic? It's definitely worth having a convo about. Reply. He invited me for lunch for pancakes one day, which felt odd. I couldn't go because he asked me the night before and I had plans. He told me he has made donuts, stir-fry, soup, banana bread. He isn't incapable from what he says. His mum was the matriarch, 100%. He was silent the entire time. His dad and sister seemed happy-go-lucky. I could tell mum was judging me, but not that there was anger. Just curious and maybe a slight judgmental air. It wasn't a long interaction though. Our tops. Update. Aita for telling my boyfriend I'm breaking up because he doesn't want to cook for himself. So, I liked this man a lot, but ultimately didn't see anything long term, and I broke up with him today. He basically said okay, and I said I wanted to tell him why, and he said no. I said, that's kind of something a man that cycles through women doesn't have long-term relationships would say. Not a man who's never had a girlfriend and is breaking up with his first one would say. So I proceeded to tell him what he said, and what it meant to me when he said it. This man proceeded to gaslight me into believing that he never said it, and that he was just innocent, and that I'm just trying to be cruel to him. He then said that he didn't intend on being more independent, which basically contradicts the So blocked him, and that's the update. My feelings are hurt and my mind is spinning. Hoping to find peace again soon. Stories number 21. Aita, for blocking my parents and sister and her best friend from coming to my high school graduation. I am 18, graduated high school in May. In December last year, I had a meeting with the teacher in charge of graduation tickets and asked her to deny my parents, sister and her best friend tickets if they tried to buy them. To get tickets in my school, you need to name a student you're attending for. I explained that I already had my request in for all the tickets I would need, and I did not need more. We talked about why I'll explain in a minute, and she told me sure. It was March when she gave me the heads up that my parents had tried to buy 4 tickets. They tried again in April, and I got another heads up about it. I know people will be wondering why I'd go this far, and this started when I was 13, but one should give some context first. My sister F20 has been best friends with Taylor F20 since kindergarten. Taylor always had a rough reputation. She bullied some kids in the same grade as her and my sister, and some kids in the grade below. My parents always made excuses for her, because Taylor came from a shitty home, and her parents were different levels of abusive. She was mostly okay with me. Sometimes she'd call me weird, and I never liked her that much. But it wasn't something I could change, because my parents treated her like third child, and my sister loved Taylor like a sister. When my sister and Taylor were 14, Taylor kinda moved in with us. It was never an official thing, but 2 of Taylor's siblings were runaways, and she wanted out too. And our parents were happy to have her there. It was awkward and uncomfortable for me. She had started saying I was weird more, but I tried to ignore her. Then one random weekend when I was 13 and they were 15, and my parents left them in charge, Taylor was complaining about the guy she liked not liking her back. She told my sister she felt ugly and stuff. Then Taylor asked me if I'd date her and if I found her hot. I said no. Taylor got really offended and asked me, why the hell not? And she got super invested in hearing me say she was hot and I'd date her. I got so uncomfortable that I went upstairs and locked myself in my bedroom. Taylor yelled at me a few times that I would be sulfur monoxide, lucky to have her, and she would show me what I was missing. I told my parents about it when they got home, and they told me I was overreacting, and Mum said a girl sometimes needs a confidence boost, and I should have hyped Taylor up. For the next 3 years, I was doing everything to avoid Taylor, and she was trying so hard to get me alone, or at least get me where my parents weren't home, and she tried to seduce me. It was weird, and I hated it. She still called me a freak and stuff, but then she'd say I needed to lose my virginity to someone and I could be a good stress reliever for her. My sister didn't care. She found it a little weird, but she liked Taylor more, and my parents did not care. Taylor even slipped up in front of them a few times, and I was told to quit being dramatic. I told my maternal grandparents about it, and they were horrified. They talked to my parents. They tried calling CPS too, but it went nowhere. I was locking my door every night because she used to try and sneak into my room when everyone was gone to bed. She'd try to burst in on me in the shower too, and she left the door open when she was in the shower so I'd see. Or she'd change without closing her room door. The times it got worse were pram, and any time she got rejected by a guy. Then 2 years ago, my parents and sister left early. I was sleeping, and Taylor stayed behind. She tried for hours to get me to have sex with her. Right as my parents got home, she got so frustrated she punched me and started beating the shit out of me. They pulled her off, and I called the cops. My parents and sister lied to cover for Taylor, and they told the cops I had done it to myself. CPS were called too, and they said the same. I said over and over again it was Taylor, but my parents and sister said they caught me hurting myself, and then I freaked and called the cops. CPS decided either way, I would be safer somewhere else, because I told everyone to keep Taylor away from me, and I wanted to be left alone, and I insisted she did beat me. So my grandparents got custody of me. My parents gave my grandparents shit for it, but my grandparents made sure my parents could not contact me and CPS, and the judge in our case supported that, because even though I don't think the cops, CPS, or even the judge believed me, it was treated like I might hurt myself worse if I had contact with my parents and sister. I know my sister and Taylor still live with my parents, and I want nothing to do with them. My parents told my grandparents a year ago that they would see me graduate and we would be reunited as a family. So that's why I made the decision to talk to the teacher in charge of tickets. I did not want to see them, and I would have skipped it. I have successfully avoided Taylor since, and I especially didn't want her at my graduation. Ever since the ticket stuff, my parents have given my grandparents hell since they can't give me hell directly. I have my socials locked down hard, and they don't have my number. I did get to hear some of the voice messages they sent my grandparents, and my parents and sister was in the background. Of some said, I was all kinds of fucked up for keeping them away when we're a family. And they even called Taylor, my sister, which grossed me and my grandparents out. Did I go too far by blocking them from attending my graduation? Should I have left it alone and ignored them? I'm starting to go crazy worrying I made shit worse for my grandparents and maybe inspired my parents and sister and Taylor to be extra crazy. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Your parents welcomed an abuser into their home, gave them full permission to abuse you, and they're angry you've escaped. I'd start telling everybody exactly why my parents aren't allowed to attend. Reply. There are some people who know. I didn't tell everyone because I'm not so sure people will believe me entirely, and if they do, I don't want to hear how lucky I could have been because I know that's the way people think of it. Commenter to NTA. We all made choices, and your parents choose a stranger over their own son. They allowed her to harass you, failed protecting you, and this is the end result. You just don't want to be reunited as a family. I am afraid your parents don't see the full picture. They chose Taylor over you. You had to move to your grandparents to avoid her harassment and violence. So what they want is just a fantasy. Their fantasy Taylor is not your sister. She's your abuser. So I think your grandparents can talk with them on your behalf and let them know how you really feel over Taylor and that they made a choice. So here are the consequences. They lost their son. Reply. My grandparents already told them how I feel and how I was failed by all of them. They were the only ones speaking up for me at one point. My parents don't want to listen because they still dismiss what was actually happening. The whole thing is so fucking gross with this added sister shit now being said. Commenter 3, restraining order. Reply. Against my parents or Taylor? I couldn't get one against Taylor, and I tried with my grandparents' help for over a year. My grandparents would be the ones who'd have to file for my parents, since my parents can't contact me directly. Commenter for NTA. According to your parents, Taylor is your sister. Taylor wants to be your sister with benefits. Your parents don't have a problem with this, and can't figure out why you don't want anything to do with a lot of them. Their logic escapes me, and I'm so glad you have your grandparents in your life. Stories number 22. Aita for changing the Wi-Fi password and not telling my roommate. Hey guys, so my 19F roommate, let's call her C20F, and I have been living together for about 8 months. At first it was fine, but lately it's become unbearable. She's one of those people who constantly has things going on. She has people over, constantly. It's not just a few friends on a Friday. It's like 4 to 6 people, almost every night of the week. They're loud. They take over the living room, and they eat my food. I've come home to find my entire fridge raided and gone more than once. I'm not a hermit, but I value my peace and quiet. Especially after classes, I basically just hide in my room with my headphones on. I've tried talking to her about it 3 times. I was polite at first, then more direct. Each time she gets super apologetic, says, "You're right." I'll tone it down, and then nothing changes. Last week, I even left a note on the fridge asking her to please not have people over after 10 p.m. on weeknights. She texted me, "Okay, got it," and then that very night had a bunch of people over until 1 a.m. Last night was the final straw. She was having another one of her movie nights, and there were like 8 people here. They were being so loud I could hear them over my game. I went out to get a glass of water, and one of her guy friends was trying to figure out how to use my expensive coffee machine that I specifically told her not to touch. I just lost it. I went back to my room, logged into the router settings, and changed the Wi-Fi password. It's like 20 characters long, so she'll never guess it in a million years. Literally 2 minutes later, I hear a bunch of, "Oh my god, the Wi-Fi isn't working." From the living room, C comes and knocks on my door. Asks if the internet is down for me too. I just said, "Nope, works fine for me." She asked what the password was, and I told her I changed it. She just stared at me, and then asked why. I told her the internet is for residents, not her friend circle. And that I was tired of it all. She got furious, said I was being a psycho, passive-aggressive, and controlling. I said I was being effective, since talking didn't work. She and her friends all went off to another house. But since then, she's giving me the silent treatment. She texted me that I'm a huge bitch and that I'm making her living situation hostile. A part of me feels bad, but honestly, I just wanted my apartment back. I pay for half the internet. I should be able to use it in peace. Stories number 23. My late-night workouts turned into a parade of entitled men who can't handle using a door app. I live in a newer apartment complex that's supposed to be secure. Every door-perking garage, mailroom, gym, pool you need to open with an app on your phone. It's one of the reasons I picked this place. I work late hours, so I usually hit the gym around 10 or 11 at night. By then, it's empty, quiet, and honestly peaceful. Just me, my headphones, and the sound of my feet on the treadmill. But lately, that peace has been wrecked by one very specific, very irritating thing. Men who cannot grasp the concept of just using the damn app. It happens almost every night now. I'll be mid-set, or jogging, or stretching, and suddenly bang, someone's yanking on the locked glass door. No knock, no wave, no hey, my app's not working, just pulling at it like they're trying to break in. Sometimes, they rattle it 2 or 3 times, hard enough to make the metal frame shake. And here's the kicker. 9 times out of 10, it's a guy. At first, I thought maybe something was actually wrong. Maybe they forgot their phone or their access isn't working. But no, every single time, after about 30 seconds of me not moving, they eventually pull out their phone, tap the app, and voil of the door opens, like magic. Like they knew how to do it the whole damn time. So basically, they just expected me to stop my workout, walk across the room, and open the door for them, because what? I happen to be near it. I'm a woman, so I'm automatically in charge of letting people in. I don't even know these dudes. I have no idea if they live here. That's the whole point of the access system. It's supposed to keep random people out. But apparently, that logic doesn't apply when their convenience is on the line. The worst part is how aggressive it sounds when they pull. I don't think they realize what it's like on the inside. It echoes. The gym is mostly glass and tile, so when they yank the handle, it's this loud metallic clang that makes my heart jump. It's jarring. You're alone, in leggings, with your earbuds in, and suddenly some guy's pounding on the door like he's trying to escape a burning building. Every single time, I freeze. My brain instantly goes, what if he's not a resident? What if he gets mad I don't open it? So, I've developed a rule for myself. I don't make eye contact. I don't move. I pretend I don't even see them. Eventually, they figure it out and use the app like they should have from the start. And again, have never seen a woman do this. Not once. When women come to the door, they just use their phones. Walk in, smile politely, maybe nod. It's the men who yank, who assume I'll drop everything to play doorman. One night last week was the worst it's been. I was alone in the gym, doing squats. And suddenly, this guy comes up to the door and starts pulling on it like he's trying to rip it off the hinges. The glass actually flexed. He didn't even try the app at first, just stared at me through the door while tugging over and over again. I made eye contact once. Big mistake. He gestures like, come open this. I shake my head and go back to my set. He keeps pulling. Finally, after about a minute of this, he gives up and pulls out his phone. It takes him maybe 3 seconds to open the door. 3 seconds. He walks in, doesn't say thanks or sorry or anything. Just walks past me and mutters, damn, chill, chill. You just tried to break into a glass door while staring at me like I was the problem. I was so irritated, I actually stopped my workout early that night. When I left, I saw him sitting on the lobby couch, scrolling his phone. Perfectly fine, not locked out, not stranded. Just lazy. It's happened enough now that I know it's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Entitlement, this weird, quiet assumption that if there's a woman nearby, she'll take care of it. I've talked to a couple of my neighbors about it, t'other women who go late at night. And every single one of them said they've experienced the same thing. One of them even had a guy bang on the door when she didn't get up fast enough. Like full-on fists on the glass. Security had to come by later because she reported it. He claimed he forgot his phone and didn't mean to scare anyone. Sure. Buddy, I get that it's not the biggest issue in the world. But it's exhausting. It's like this microcosm of something bigger, this expectation that women will stop what they're doing to make life easier for men. Even something as small as opening a door becomes an assumption of servitude. It's not about the gym, or the door, or the app. It's about the fact that when I'm alone, in a secure building, men still act like I owe them my attention, my time, and my compliance. And when I don't give it, I'm rude. Meanwhile, they're the ones pulling at locked doors in the middle of the night like maniacs. Last night, it happened again. Different guy, same routine. Yank, yank, yank. I ignored him, as always. When he finally used his phone, he came in muttering, "Damn, couldn't just open it." I didn't even look up. I just said, "Couldn't just use the app." He went quiet after that. I don't know why so many of them act like basic self-sufficiency is an insult to their pride. But I do know one thing. Next time someone starts yanking that door like it owes them something, I'm not moving an inch, because if there's one thing I've learned from living here, it's that the only thing scarier than being alone in the gym late at night is realizing how many men think the world owes them convenience. Even at 11 p.m., update. So, I didn't plan to post an update, honestly. I figured my little rant about gym door entitlement would just fade into the Reddit void like everything else. But apparently, the universe decided to test my patience again, because the situation escalated in the weirdest and most uncomfortable way possible. A few nights after my post, I went down to the gym around my usual time, close to 10:30 p.m. I had my water, my earbuds, my please don't talk to me face. All set. It was quiet, like always. And for once, I actually felt calm. About 20 minutes in, I see a shadow through the glass door. I sighed. You know that internal ugh, not again feeling? That's exactly it. Sure enough, the handle rattled once, twice, 3 times the same routine. I didn't move. Then I saw who it was. It was the same guy who muttered, "Couldn't just open it," at me the other night. Let's call him Chase. I'd seen him around the complex before, mid-30s. Built like a CrossFit enthusiast, always wearing tank tops, no matter the weather. The kind of guy who probably has grind harder in his Instagram bio. Anyway, Chase pulls at the door, sees me, and knocks. I glance up, shake my head, and keep doing my lunges. Then he starts talking through the glass, like yelling loud enough to echo, "Come on, you're right there. Just open it." Nope, not happening. He finally huffs, digs into his pocket, pulls out his phone, and opens the door. But instead of just walking in and minding his business like a normal human being, he goes full confrontation mode. "You know, it's common courtesy to help people out," he says. Real smug. I take out one earbud and go, "It's also common sense to use the app, like everyone else." That set him off. He starts going on about how he pays rent here too, and the door should work when he wants it to, and it's not that deep. Basically, a full-on monologue about how my boundaries are inconvenient to him. I told him straight up, "I'm not your concierge. If your app doesn't work, that's a management issue. Not a me issue." He laughs, but not the funny kind. The kind where someone's trying to make you feel small. Then he goes, "You know, maybe if you smiled once in a while instead of acting like a bitch, people would actually be nice to you." That's when I realized it wasn't about the door at all. It was about control. He wanted me to feel obligated, to submit in this small, stupid way. I said nothing. Just put my earbuds back in and ignored him. He muttered something under his breath and started his workout, slamming weights around like he was trying to break the floor. I waited him out, but the whole time I felt uneasy. Every sound felt louder, sharper. My heart was racing, and not from cardio. When I finally left, I took the long way through the lobby. Guess who was sitting there again? Chase. He saw me, smirked, and said, "See you tomorrow." Sweetheart. I went straight to the leasing office the next morning. I told the front desk girl, her name's Megan, she's awesome, exactly what happened. She immediately took me seriously, which was a relief. She said they'd had other complaints about Chase being overly aggressive with some of the residents. especially women, apparently. One woman caught him holding the door open and refusing to let it close so she'd have to talk to him. Another reported that he followed her into the mailroom late at night. Nothing technically illegal, but definitely creepy and intimidating behavior. Megan said they were documenting everything and would issue him a formal warning. The next night, I went to the gym again, this time earlier. Around 8:30, and guess who was there? Yep, Chase. But here's the twist, he wasn't working out. He was standing outside the glass door, on his phone, looking like he was pretending to scroll. He'd occasionally glance up and make direct eye contact with me. I froze. My gut said leave, but I didn't want him to think he'd scared me out of my own space. Then, after about 5 minutes of this weird staring contest, another resident came down, older guy, real friendly, I think his name's Tom. He sees Chase standing there and goes, "Hey man, what's up? You going in?" Chase kind of hesitates, then says, "Nah. Just waiting for someone?" Tom looks at him, then at me through the door, and you could see the realization click in. Without a word, Tom walks past him, opens the door with his app, and asks if I'm okay. I nod, but I can feel my hands shaking when I finished and went back upstairs. I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. How easily something so small, a door, a workout, a simple refusal turned into a power struggle. The next day, I filed a second report. This time, the complex's security team got involved. They reviewed camera footage and saw exactly what I described. Chase hovering by the door, watching me, not trying to go in. They told me he'd violated the complex's harassment and loitering policy and that he'd been officially banned from the gym for 30 days. If he tries to go in again during that period, he's out, full lease termination. When I heard that, I actually teared up a little. Not out of joy or victory, just relief, because it meant someone finally said out loud what I'd been thinking. This wasn't nothing. It wasn't me overreacting. It was real. Since then, the building has added a new rule. Only verified residents can access the gym after 9 p.m. You have to check in with your key fob and phone combo. I guess enough people complained that management decided to tighten things up. I still go late sometimes, but I'm more aware now. I keep my phone recording when I walk in, just in case. The weird thing is, the gym feels quieter now, calmer. Like the energy shifted back to what it was before all this started. And, if I'm being honest, I kind of feel proud, because I didn't cave. I didn't open the door just to make someone else comfortable. I didn't apologize for wanting to feel safe in my own home. Sometimes it's not about big, dramatic acts of bravery. Sometimes it's about staying still while someone yanks on a door and trying to make you bend and choosing not to. Now, when I see someone pulling at the gym door, I don't even flinch. I know what I stand for. I know where the line is. And I'll never open that door for entitlement again. Final update. So, it's been about a month since everything went down with Chase. And I figured I owed you all a final update because holy hell, things actually did come to a head. After my last post, things were quiet. Weirdly quiet. I started working out earlier, around 8 p.m., and I didn't see him anywhere. I honestly started to think maybe he'd just moved on or got the message. The gym felt normal again, peaceful. Even, I'd throw on my playlist, zone out, and forget the whole creepy door situation ever happened. But of course, that didn't last. One night, I get home late from work, around 9 for 5 p.m., and I decide to do a quick workout before bed. I head down to the gym, open the door with the app, and immediately get that prickly feeling on the back of my neck. You know when you can feel someone watching you, even if you can't see them. Sure enough, a few minutes into my run, I look up and there he is, Chase, standing outside again, phone in hand, pretending to scroll. My stomach dropped. I wasn't scared. Not exactly more angry than anything. Like, dude, seriously, you already got banned once. Do you not have hobbies? I didn't move. I just kept running, watching him through the reflection in the mirror. He didn't try to come in this time, just stood there, smirking every few seconds like he knew it bothered me. After a few minutes, I pulled out my phone and texted the emergency line, our building management setup for after-hours security issues. I figured they'd send someone to check it out. Maybe talk to him. About 5 minutes later, I see a flashlight beam bouncing down the hallway. Our night security guy, Reggie, absolute legend, comes around the corner. He spots Chase, shines the light directly on him, and says something I couldn't hear through the glass. Chase's face shifts from smug to defensive real quick. There's some back and forth, then Reggie radios someone, and Chase finally storms off down the hall. I figured that was the end of it. The next morning, Megan from the leasing office calls me. Her tone is serious, not mad, but like she's trying to stay calm. She says Chase was caught tailgating another resident into the building earlier that week. Even though his gym access had been revoked, they'd been reviewing footage. And get this, they found multiple instances of him lurking near the gym doors after hours, just hanging out in the hallway for long stretches. He wasn't technically breaking in, but it was still creepy as hell. Management decided that was strike 3. He was officially being evicted for violating the building's safety and harassment policy. Megan told me it wasn't just my reports either. 2 other women had come forward after reading the notice about new gym security. One said Chase had followed her to her car one night and asked invasive questions about what floor she lived on. Another said he cornered her in the lobby once to ask why she never smiled back. So yeah, he was done. When I got home that night, there was a moving truck out front. Chase was loading boxes into it, slamming the doors like the truck had personally offended him. He saw me walking toward the building and froze. For a split second, I thought he might say something, an apology, a snide comment, something, but he didn't. He just glared at me, climbed into the driver's seat, and peeled out of the parking lot like a cliché villain in a movie. And just like that, he was gone. The days after that were honestly weirdly emotional. I didn't realize how much mental space he'd been taking up until it was over. For weeks, I'd been constantly scanning my surroundings, changing my workout schedule, checking my locks twice, living in that quiet hum of anxiety. Once he left, the air felt lighter. I could finally breathe again. Now, when I go to the gym, I actually enjoy it. It's calm. There's this older woman who comes around the same time as me now. Her name's Linda, and she said she used to avoid the gym at night because she felt uncomfortable being alone. But after hearing that Chase was gone, she started coming back to. We started chatting between sets. And honestly, it's nice having company, not in the forced, I have to be nice to you way, but in the we're all just trying to exist safely way. Megan told me later that management had installed a new camera system near all the gym and hallway entrances. They also implemented a resident safety committee, and she asked if I wanted to join. I said yes. So now, once a month, a group of us meet to talk about lighting, access points, and how to handle complaints like this faster next time. I guess if there's a silver lining, it's that something genuinely good came out of it. A lot of people, especially women, feel safer here now because the building actually took it seriously. I still think about that first night sometimes, the rattling handle, the expectation that I'd just open the door, how small it seemed in the moment, how easy it would have been to give in just to avoid confrontation. But looking back, that little act of saying no probably changed everything. Because people like Chase count on others being too polite or too afraid to push back. They rely on you feeling bad for standing your ground. But once you stop playing that game, once you stop shrinking yourself to make someone else comfortable, they lose that power. Now, when I'm alone in the gym and someone pulls at the door, I don't even flinch. I know what that door represents. It's not just a barrier, it's a boundary. And for once, I'm proud of how fiercely I held it. Stories number 24. My coworker called me a background character, so I turned his own gossip into his downfall. There's always that one guy in every office. The one who talks too much, too loud, and about everyone. You know exactly who I mean. The self-appointed, funny guy, who thinks he's everyone's favorite, but is really just tolerated because nobody wants to deal with the drama that follows him. That's Brad in my office, mid-30s. Polo shirts in colors that could blind a traffic cone, and an ego about 3 sizes too big. I'm the opposite. Quiet, I like my space, I like my work, and I don't feel the need to fill every silence with words. I do my job well, turn in projects early, and keep my head down. Apparently, that made me a target. It started small, little digs about how I never talk, how I creep people out because I'm quiet. Then he started calling me the background character. At first, I laughed it off because I genuinely didn't care. But he started doing it in meetings, in front of other coworkers, even when our boss was around. He thought it was harmless office banter. To everyone else, maybe it was, but to me, it was disrespect. What pushed me over the edge wasn't the name calling, it was the way people started joining in. I could feel the laughter shifting from ha-ha to that kind of laugh people give when they're relieved it's not them being picked on. I didn't say anything, but I filed it away. I'm not the kind of person who reacts fast, I wait. Then came the moment the universe practically gifted me revenge. It was a Thursday. I came into the break room for lunch around 12:30. Earbuds in but no music playing. Brad was already in there, phone on the table, speaker on full blast. He was talking to his buddy, another guy from a different office location, bragging about how he hooked up with a coworker's sister at a wedding. He used full names, and when I say full names, I mean both of them. Yeah dude. Megan's sister Jenna, at her cousin's wedding. Crazy night man. I almost choked on my sandwich. He was so loud. I didn't even have to strain to hear. He went on for a good 5 minutes, laughing, bragging, saying things that would absolutely destroy his reputation if the wrong person heard them. And considering we work in a corporate environment where HR lives for this kind of stuff, yeah, it was bad. He never once looked up to see me sitting 10 feet away. I didn't say a word, just kept eating, finished my lunch, and went back to my desk like nothing happened. Fast forward to Monday morning meeting. We're going through weekly updates, and of course, Brad's got to make everything about him. Midway through, he glances at me and goes, "Guess our background character finally decided to speak today, huh?" People chuckle. My boss even gives that awkward half smile, like, "Please, don't make this a thing right now." I looked up, deadpan, and said, "You should probably stop talking about people's sisters on speaker if you don't want to be the main character." The silence that followed was beautiful. You could feel the air leave the room. Someone actually coughed to break the tension. Brad froze like deer in headlights. Realizing I wasn't bluffing, he stammered, "What are you talking about?" I just smiled, then went right back to my notes. The rest of the meeting was so quiet, you could hear the projector hum. Afterward, he followed me into the hallway, red-faced whisper shouting, "What the hell did you hear?" I shrugged. Enough. He opened his mouth again, then shut it, because what could he say? Everyone heard the way I said it, confident, deliberate, the kind of tone that screams, "I have evidence. Don't test me." He avoided me for the rest of the day. Then for the rest of the week, and it didn't stop there. Word started spreading through the office. Not the details, I never shared them. But the story, people knew something had gone down between Brad and someone's sister. He tried to play it off, act like I was bluffing. But, you could tell he was sweating. His whole persona, the loud, cocky, always in control guy, crumbled a little more each day. He stopped making jokes about me, actually. He stopped making jokes about anyone. The energy he used to pour into gossip just evaporated. He'd come in, do his work quietly, and leave right at 5. Meanwhile, everyone started treating me differently, not in a bad way, just with this quiet respect. Like they'd realized maybe the background character was paying more attention than anyone thought. The best part, Megan, yeah, the one whose sister he mentioned, pulled me aside a couple of weeks later. She didn't confirm or deny anything, but she said, "Whatever you said to him, thank you." Then she smiled and walked off. That's when I realized it wasn't just about me. His behavior had been bothering a lot of people. I was just the first one who hit back. Now Brad's still at the company. But he's a different person, quieter, careful. Sometimes I catch him glancing at me like he's trying to read my mind. Wondering if I told anyone the full story. I never did, I didn't have to. His own paranoia did all the work, and me, I just went back to being the quiet one. The difference is, now when I walk by, nobody calls me a background character anymore. They just move out of the way and let me pass. Funny how fast people remember your name when you stop letting them write your story.